Gifted People. Being Aware of Gifted Children and Adults, written by Robert Nathans, narrated by Jeffrey Gover. Introduction. I felt compelled to share what I've recently discovered about giftedness. Personally, I wish I had been informed about this particular divergence from the average human brain earlier. However, my intention is not to attract undue attention or create a sense of superiority over others. When I mentioned to my parents that many descriptions of gifted individuals resonated with my own experiences, they were hesitant to accept this label. The term gifted often carries implications of superiority, which can seem boastful. Yet, true talent or giftedness should foster humility and gratitude, coupled with a determination to navigate the challenges that come with such exceptional qualities. Saying you are gifted often results in perceptions of being smarter than others. Yet, those who grasp these concepts usually understand that increased knowledge reveals the vast extent of what remains unknown. Even if you grasp things more quickly than others, the paradox is that those who believe they know everything are often the least knowledgeable. This can create a paradox for those trying to find self-confidence in their intelligence or creative abilities. My aim in writing this book is not to boast, but to provide insight into what it means to be gifted. Is it a positive attribute? The answer is complex. While it might seem advantageous, it is not simply about being a quick learner or solving puzzles effortlessly. What drives my desire to share this information is my personal connection to these experiences. Knowing earlier what I now understand would have alleviated much of my frustration with life and social interactions. My brain operates in a way that seems unique, making me question why it functions differently for others. Giftedness, like any personality trait or cognitive variation, exists in many shades of gray rather than in black and white. Recognizing these traits in yourself or others can enhance understanding and empathy. With that, let's explore the material further, enriched with personal anecdotes to illustrate the concepts discussed. Chapter 1: Labels and Connotations. In the following chapters, I will explore traits commonly associated with gifted individuals and provide explanations for these characteristics, often drawing on personal experiences. The aim is to illustrate how gifted people, including yourself or others you may know, might behave. One unfortunate aspect of labeling people is that some labels carry negative connotations, while others do not. The term gifted often suggests an inherent advantage, particularly in intelligence. While IQ tests have their flaws and can sometimes be improved through practice, they occasionally offer some insight into a person's abilities. For a long time, I struggled to understand my own differences. I knew I was different but couldn't pinpoint how. Some suggested it might be related to the autism spectrum, due to my childhood sensitivity and difficulty adapting to change. Others thought it might be related to obsessive-compulsive disorder because of my compulsive need to complete tasks. Despite various theories, it wasn't until recently that I began to understand myself better. Autism, while often carrying a negative connotation, shouldn't be stigmatized. Common perceptions of autism involve extreme behaviors, individuals who avoid eye contact, struggle with social interactions, and have a deep, singular focus on their interests. I had an uncle who was a musical genius, but very shy, to the point of avoiding conversation. He was a kind person, and his loss was deeply felt. Similarly, other autistic individuals may repeatedly engage in specific behaviors and have difficulty with social cues, yet their intelligence remains undeniable. Many are highly focused, dedicated to their specific interests, and their unique skills contribute significantly to society. The prevalence of autism among males, possibly due to their traditional roles as providers, highlights its practical value. While autism is often categorized as a disorder, it possesses strengths that can drive success, especially in tasks requiring intense focus. Success and financial stability are not always direct results of intelligence or determination. Economic outcomes are influenced by a complex interplay of factors, including business dynamics, currency fluctuations, politics, and personal circumstances such as health, inheritance, family situation, and culture. The disparity between wealth and poverty cannot be simplified to mere attributes of laziness or intelligence. Instead, it reflects a broader and more intricate reality. It's true that many people find themselves in difficult financial situations due to poor spending habits, lack of investment knowledge, unproductive activities, or an inability to see the bigger picture. I've seen numerous individuals who constantly make excuses and view themselves as victims of a society that doesn't readily hand them money simply because they consider themselves deserving. Conversely, there are many stories of individuals who succeeded by seizing opportunities when the market, demand, or trends were favorable. Their success wasn't purely due to luck. Many of these people took risks with their own money or loans, worked tirelessly, and persevered despite fierce competition and market challenges. However, once these opportunities are gone, they can't be recaptured. For instance, starting a physical bookstore today is nearly impossible with the dominance of major online retailers. Similarly, launching a coupon website for dating events or creating a new search engine is daunting given the existing giants in those spaces. Even innovating in a field like fast food, where companies like McDonald's have established empires, can be nearly impossible. Intelligence and hard work don't always translate to wealth, despite what some self-help gurus might claim. While the idea of work hard and work smart is valuable, it doesn't guarantee success. The main point is that you shouldn't always blame yourself for the outcomes of your efforts, but neither should you excuse yourself from trying and doing your best. AD or ADHD, which is more prevalent in boys, presents its own set of challenges. Many teachers struggle with students who have these conditions, and I've observed them in some family members. These individuals often have shorter attention spans and are more prone to addictions. However, many successful entrepreneurs and celebrities have openly discussed their ADD and have thrived because of it. For them, the constant search for novelty and excitement is driven by differences in dopamine regulation, which makes life seem dull if it lacks stimulation. This drive for new experiences can lead to significant innovations, solutions, and a unique perspective on challenges. When novelty ceases, they may experience depression, but their ability to pursue happiness and new ventures is often remarkable. Many people with ADD traits have channeled their need for novelty into achieving great success. One additional point I want to make, which may seem tangential, is that these generalizations are intended to provide insight rather than to judge or imply uniformity among individuals. Not everyone with ADD or autism fits the same mold. Each person's personality is shaped by a complex interplay of experiences, genetics, culture, physical changes, and neural connections, leading to unique ways of thinking that are beyond our full comprehension. For instance, I once observed a group of 10 to 12-year-olds during recess. The girls clustered in circles, engaging in gossip and social interaction. Occasionally, a girl would move from one group to another, sharing what she had heard. In contrast, the boys showed little interest in conversation. They played soccer, and after 20 minutes of the game, the only words exchanged were, "Good job." Our brains are wired differently for a reason. If they weren't, everyone would be the same, relationships would function differently, and people might struggle to find their ideal matches. An interesting example from my own life involves the contrast between my wife and me. I am considered the book smart one in our marriage. I speak 6 languages reasonably well, with English not being my native language, graduated at the top of my high school class, skipped a year of college, and achieved considerable success in areas related to language, art, creativity, numbers, and organization. My wife, on the other hand, is dyslexic. This condition is often misunderstood. I once met a man who fixed machines at a company and was called to repair issues even from locations 4 hours away. He admitted, "I'm dyslexic. I'm not good with words, but I can see shapes, patterns, and spatial objects more easily than others. My wife shares similar strengths. She struggles with words and isn't as quick with mental math, but she excels at practical tasks. She rarely uses manuals, instinctively knows where bolts and screws go without prior experience, and has even fixed cars despite lacking formal training. When we renovated our home, she added a bathroom in just 2 months with minimal outside help. I remember trying to assist by attaching pipes in a dusty crawl space and asking her what to do next, feeling completely lost. Dyslexia is often viewed negatively, but it can offer significant benefits. It reflects a different way of thinking, utilizing parts of the brain beyond the language centers, and should not be seen as merely a disorder, but as a different cognitive approach. Being gifted also encompasses a specific way of thinking. While knowledge can expand through study, the capacity to study can diminish if your frontal cortex deteriorates due to factors like drug use or addiction. Our brains are remarkably adaptable, and the development of our instincts and abilities is largely influenced by nurture. It's important to understand that being gifted is not a fixed trait you either possess or lack, nor is there a straightforward path to increasing your IQ or achieving success. While some factors are beyond our control, we often underestimate how much we can influence our own lives, with many people opting for excuses like, "That's just how I am," instead of acknowledging, "That's how I chose to be." Despite having the freedom to shape our destinies, being gifted is indeed a real phenomenon. It's a distinctive way of thinking, and understanding it can help you appreciate the differences from what might be considered a typical brain, though everyone has their own unique traits, and there is no single definition of normal. Before we delve into specifics, it's worth noting that while discussions often focus on gifted children, gifted adults also exist. Gifted children grow into adults who retain many of their original traits, though people do evolve over time. This book will address how to understand and support both gifted children and adults, including yourself, your partner, or others you interact with regularly. Chapter 2: Keen Power of Abstraction. I've observed that many people around me tend to live in the present moment. For example, when I ask my wife what she's thinking about, she often mentions something immediately perceptible or tangible, like a TV show, a sore thumb, or a craving. This focus on the here and now contrasts with my own experience, where my thoughts often span a broader range of concepts. When asked what I'm thinking, my mind generates a multitude of connotations that come together to form a comprehensive understanding of my world. Gifted individuals are often adept at detaching from their immediate surroundings and envisioning broader perspectives, extending their thoughts across global or universal contexts. This capacity for abstract thinking enables them to perceive possibilities and implications that are not immediately visible. They can anticipate future scenarios through logic and past experiences, though this can sometimes be overwhelming due to the sheer number of options and potential outcomes. Abstract thinking involves engaging with concepts that aren't physically present. Gifted individuals often have an exceptional memory and make unusual connections in their minds, allowing them to simulate scenarios as if they were real. While anyone can engage in abstract thinking, it can have drawbacks. For instance, my wife's practical skills and hands-on approach might be due to her focus on the present and avoidance of overcomplication or overanalysis of things she doesn't see. This focus can be a powerful asset. For gifted people, the strength of abstract thinking lies in its ability to consider a range of possibilities, consequences, and reactions. This mental flexibility often provides them with a clear sense of direction and insight into their path. Chapter 3: Interest in problem solving and applying concepts. I have to admit that I'm not as inclined towards practical puzzles as some others might be. While I enjoy puzzles, I'm only drawn to those that align with my interests. For instance, I'm not particularly enthusiastic about puzzles that involve moving objects or require a series of simple, non-skippable steps. Gifted individuals, on the other hand, have a strong inclination towards solving puzzles, especially when they can apply their knowledge effectively. Their experience and confidence grow with each challenge they tackle, reinforcing their belief that their approach is correct. Gifted people are driven by a desire to make progress, constantly seeking solutions and applying what they've learned. I find it frustrating to spend time on tasks that don't serve a purpose. While many people can manage this more easily, I struggle with it. For me, everything must have a clear purpose, and if it doesn't, accepting it can be challenging. Chapter 4: Early Reader. Gifted children often begin reading at an unusually early age, a trait that is sometimes nurtured by their teachers and the educational environment they are exposed to. The effectiveness of the educational programs and the teacher's attentiveness play significant roles in this early development. However, it's important to note that not all early readers are necessarily gifted. Some might simply have a strong interest in reading or possess high intelligence. A well-known example is Matilda from Roald Dahl's fictional tale, who demonstrated an extraordinary passion for books and displayed a level of intelligence far surpassing that of her family. It's essential to recognize that being an early reader is not a definitive marker of giftedness. There are many other indicators of being gifted, and early reading is just one of them. Giftedness can manifest in various ways beyond reading proficiency. For instance, my own experience shows that words are particularly easy for me to remember. When I encounter a word once or twice in different languages, I tend to retain its spelling and meaning for life. This ability to recall and apply linguistic information might be characteristic of gifted individuals, although it is not universally applicable to everyone with these traits. In essence, while early reading can be a sign of giftedness, it is not the sole indicator. Giftedness is a complex and multifaceted trait, and understanding it requires looking at a range of attributes and abilities. Chapter 5: Large Vocabulary. This trait is quite evident in my own experience, and you might have noticed it in my writing style as well. Each word I know isn't just accompanied by its translation into other languages. It comes with a whole range of synonyms, alternative phrasings, and nuanced meanings. It's as if every term carries its own mini thesaurus, allowing me to convey ideas in various ways and adapt my language to fit different contexts. It's almost as if I rewrite sentences in my mind, seeking the perfect way to express a thought. This fascination with language is something I also see in my daughter. Despite being only 4 years old, she possesses an impressive vocabulary that often seems beyond her years. At times, our conversations can feel remarkably mature, yet she still exhibits typical toddler behavior, such as throwing tantrums over minor issues like a piece of candy or a TV show. It serves as a reminder that while her command of words is advanced for her age, she remains a child with all the associated emotions and priorities. Having a large vocabulary is more than just a linguistic curiosity. It opens up a myriad of possibilities. Mastery of words enhances various aspects of life, from writing and communication to leadership and persuasion. The ability to articulate thoughts clearly can improve interactions with management teams, facilitate multilingual communication, and even influence others through persuasive speech and storytelling. Words hold significant power. They underpin entire nations, cultures, religions, and scientific disciplines. Mastery of language allows one to navigate and shape these realms more effectively, underscoring the profound impact that a rich vocabulary can have on personal and professional success. Chapter 6: Intellectual Curiosity. Natural curiosity is often attributed to a healthy relationship with one's parents, but in gifted individuals, it can be even more pronounced. Growing up in the early 80s, I witnessed the dawn of the internet era, and the rapid technological advancements since then still amaze me. I vividly recall the early days of Wikipedia, when the idea of having entire encyclopedias available online was both thrilling and overwhelming. The sheer volume of information at our fingertips was staggering, and I found myself eager to explore every topic that piqued my interest. While some might have dismissed the endless streams of information as irrelevant, I was driven by an insatiable desire to learn. Whether it was about historical figures, diverse cultures, or scientific phenomena, I grappled with the challenge of how to fit so much knowledge into a finite lifespan. The internet age presents a paradox, an abundance of information coupled with the necessity to be selective. Nonetheless, I encourage you to embrace this abundance and never cease your quest for knowledge. Intellectual curiosity, in particular, is a defining trait. While practical curiosity might not be my forte, tools and hardware leave me disinterested. Theoretical discussions on topics such as ethics, history, or abstract concepts captivate me. These subjects offer a breadth of exploration and reasoning that goes beyond straightforward solutions. Intellectual curiosity thrives in these expansive abstract realms, allowing for deep, thoughtful engagement and continuous learning. Chapter 7: Power of Critical Thinking, Skepticism, Self-Criticism. I've explored critical thinking in depth through various writings under a different pen name. Some people take things at face value without a second thought, while others, like myself, delve deeply into analysis. I often find myself overanalyzing situations. Do you relate to that experience? Critical thinking, when well balanced, can be both a strength and a challenge. It is a hallmark of gifted individuals because it involves evaluating multiple perspectives and considering various factors before reaching a conclusion. Gifted thinkers avoid seeing issues in black and white. They understand that their own logical conclusions are just one perspective among many. For instance, someone opposed to gay marriage on religious grounds might still appreciate the financial and societal challenges faced by those who cannot marry. Similarly, a person who supports the death penalty might believe it offers a more humane alternative to prolonged incarceration, but also acknowledges the potential for judicial errors and the possibility of personal change. This capacity to see and understand different angles is a crucial aspect of critical thinking. Developing critical thinking skills can significantly impact societal issues such as racism, discrimination, and intolerance by fostering a deeper understanding of the complexities influencing our world. Skepticism is another crucial component that often accompanies critical thinking. It involves questioning commonly accepted beliefs and not merely following trends. Personally, I have always been somewhat detached from the latest fads and societal trends. I never quite grasped the fascination with the latest radio hits or ever-changing fashion styles. Instead, I've maintained an independent perspective, often finding myself questioning why people so readily conform to fleeting trends. This inclination towards skepticism is not just a personal quirk, but a fundamental aspect of critical thinking. It's about challenging the status quo and forming one's own opinions, even if they go against popular sentiment. Power of critical thinking, skepticism, self-criticism. This inclination towards skepticism is not merely a personal trait, but a vital component of critical thinking. It involves challenging established norms and forming one's own conclusions, even when they diverge from popular beliefs. Take, for example, my own experiences with religion. I am deeply religious, attending church weekly and firmly believing in a supernatural being we call God and an afterlife. My belief is not just a logical conclusion that this life cannot be all there is, but also a profound sense that there is something beyond human experience. Despite my religious convictions, I strive to understand different perspectives. I don't follow my church's teachings blindly. I seek to verify and understand the truths they present, mindful of the dangers of cult-like obedience that demands conformity without questioning. Cults often require unquestioning loyalty, whereas many religions encourage personal inquiry within the framework of faith. I respect the agnostic viewpoint, recognizing that my friends who haven't experienced what I have may not see the evidence of God or an afterlife as I do. Their skepticism is an important part of their own search for truth. Similarly, my skepticism extends to the realm of money and business. I've learned that deception and dishonesty are prevalent in financial dealings. It shocks me that even large corporations engage in unethical practices to gain profits and evade taxes. When faced with sales pitches or dubious offers, my first instinct is to research and question. I search for potential scams online and scrutinize reviews carefully, knowing that many are fraudulent. This cautious approach ensures that I make informed decisions rather than being swayed by false or misleading information. Self-criticism is another aspect closely tied to skepticism. I tend to be exceedingly hard on myself, a common trait among those who question everything, including their own judgments. This self-doubt does not stem from a lack of confidence, but from a desire for accuracy and improvement. Gifted individuals often possess a strong conscience and high aspirations, but are plagued by a relentless inner critic that can be both a motivator and a source of stress. Even when achieving more than others, I find myself questioning if it's ever enough. The challenge of self-criticism can be exacerbated by personal histories or low self-esteem, as experienced in childhood. Whether or not one is gifted, the key is in how one manages this inner voice. My aim is not to offer self-help solutions, but to highlight the psychological dynamics at play. Balancing the drive for perfection with self-care and enjoyment of life is crucial. The pursuit of excellence should not overshadow the simple pleasures and freedoms that life offers. Recognizing the limits of our ambition and taking time to appreciate the good things in life can create a healthier balance. For gifted individuals, this struggle with perfectionism is an inherent part of their journey, driven by an unending desire to reach for the stars, even if the sky remains perpetually out of reach. Chapter 8: Persistent, Goal-Directed Behavior. Gifted individuals often possess an intrinsic drive to prioritize and find purpose in everything they do. If something lacks a clear objective, it can be a source of frustration for them. This was certainly true for me during high school, where my ambition to become a professional basketball player drove me to excel on the court. Even when I shifted my focus away from that specific goal, my drive remained strong, just redirecting toward new aspirations, whether related to academics, career, finances, talents, or personal relationships. It became challenging for me to simply enjoy life without a larger purpose behind it, and this tendency still affects me today. Relaxation doesn't come easily, as I'm constantly pushing for more. Do you find yourself experiencing a similar sense of relentless ambition and focus on achieving your goals? Many people set strong goals, often influenced by their upbringing or cultural expectations. For gifted individuals, this goal setting is an automatic process. They don't need external prompts to establish objectives. They do it naturally. In fact, being told to set goals can sometimes be counterproductive for them, as they already have their own goals firmly in place. Advising them to set goals might be perceived as redundant or even critical, as it implies there's room for improvement in something they are already managing well. While motivational quotes, YouTube videos, or speeches occasionally help me refocus, they often have the opposite effect. Instead of fostering a healthy balance between work and relaxation, they can push me into an even more intense state of hyperfocus, neglecting important aspects like family time and personal well-being. Deadlines can be a source of significant stress, as I often feel an irrational pressure that failing to meet them will have dire consequences. My goals are frequently set too high, either being unrealistic or requiring extensions. Gifted people sometimes view themselves as capable of extraordinary feats, creating a constant pressure to perform at an exceptional level. This drive is not about showing off, but stems from a profound internal expectation to always give their best. They often take more pride in the effort they invest rather than the results they achieve, and this sense of fairness can be particularly frustrating when faced with global inequalities. If you identify with this experience, here's a piece of advice. Set goals, but try to limit the number of deadlines you impose on yourself. Don't tie your self-worth to your achievements. Allow yourself to take breaks and recharge. The phrase, "you're only human," might sound like an admission of weakness, but it's a reminder of the need for balance. You don't need to prove your capabilities through relentless effort. Sometimes achieving your goals may involve adjusting them to be more realistic or effective. Celebrate your successes, but avoid letting frustration cloud your progress. With this approach, you can maintain a healthier balance between ambition and personal well-being. Chapter 9: Independence in Work and Study. While not all gifted individuals are solitary, many exhibit a strong ability to work independently. Take my 4-year-old daughter, for instance. She is adept at playing alone, often finding creative ways to entertain herself without needing constant interaction. Although she does enjoy company at times, she generally prefers to navigate her activities on her own. Gifted people often possess a deep focus on problem solving and discovering solutions, which can lead them to rely less on external advice. This self-reliance can be a strength, allowing them to develop their own understanding and solutions. However, it can also present challenges when it comes to accepting input from others. Convincing them to consider alternative viewpoints or advice can sometimes be difficult, as they may feel their own insights are sufficient. In my own experience, I can be quite stubborn. I place a high value on facts rather than authority. This attitude may be influenced by the cultural context in which I was raised, but fundamentally, I do not elevate others based on their societal status, financial success, or talents. Instead, I prefer to forge my own path, driven by my perception of opportunities and possibilities. Many people in our society seek direction from others, preferring to be told what to do. In contrast, gifted individuals often prefer to collect and analyze all available information before making decisions. They find that this method provides them with greater control and independence, which enhances their confidence in their chosen direction. By relying on facts rather than the opinions of others, they feel a deeper sense of clarity and assurance about their choices. This independent approach can be both empowering and isolating. While it allows gifted individuals to follow their own path with confidence, it may also lead to challenges in collaborative environments where teamwork and external input are valued. Balancing the desire for independence with the ability to integrate feedback and work effectively with others is an ongoing process for many gifted individuals. Recognizing the value of diverse perspectives while maintaining a strong sense of self-reliance is key to navigating both personal and professional realms. Chapter 10: Diversity of Interests and Abilities. I recall a comment someone made to me once: "You're just good at everything, aren't you?" While I certainly don't excel at everything, I do have a wide range of abilities. I mention this not out of pride, but because I can personally relate to the experience. Have you ever seen the movie Divergent? If you've read the book, you'll know the concept well. Society often tries to pigeonhole people into specific categories, suggesting that if you're proficient in one area, you can't possibly excel in another. This idea has always been a point of contention for me. My curiosity spans many fields, and I've delved into various interests over the years. For instance, I pursued basketball and art, both of which I significantly improved upon. But I could just as easily have developed a passion for tennis, music, or chess. Gifted individuals often face the challenge of being overwhelmed by the sheer number of options and the limited time available to master them all. The drive to perfect a skill or deepen their knowledge is what motivates them. It's not about comparing themselves to others, but about appreciating their personal growth and progress. Identity can be complex. It's easy to get caught up in defining oneself through profession, hobbies, or interests, and even more so when these aspects change over time. In today's world, it's common for people to seek recognition and stand out in areas where they excel. Social media has only amplified this pressure, making it harder for many gifted individuals to navigate their diverse interests without feeling the need to compete. My advice is to embrace your multifaceted nature. It's perfectly acceptable to possess a variety of talents. In fact, these diverse skills can prove invaluable in different situations. Gifted people often have the ability to learn and master new things quickly because they understand the fundamentals and are adept at practicing and refining their skills. However, once a particular skill no longer presents a challenge, it might start to feel less fulfilling. Remember, you don't have to confine yourself to one specific area just because that's what society expects. It's important to allow yourself the freedom to excel in multiple domains. I'm reminded of an episode of Malcolm in the Middle where Malcolm takes a career aptitude test that shows high scores in various fields. His reaction is one of frustration, wondering how he's supposed to choose a career path with so many equally promising options. The teacher's response highlights the irony of having unlimited potential but feeling burdened by the decision making process. Having a multitude of possibilities can be both a blessing and a curse. Embrace your diverse interests and abilities and give yourself permission to explore and develop them without feeling constrained by societal expectations. Chapter 11: Creativeness and Inventiveness. Gifted individuals often excel at thinking outside the box, largely because they see the constraints of conventional boundaries as restrictive. Creativity, though often described vaguely as the essence of a symphony, a brushstroke, or a novel, fundamentally involves reconfiguring elements you've already encountered. It's about synthesizing familiar components in new ways. For instance, in art, creating a superhero in a particular pose might involve studying a reference image to capture the desired angle, then overlaying your superhero's unique details onto that basic structure. In music, you might draw inspiration from existing melodies, modifying them to create something new. Similarly, in cooking, experimenting with different ingredient combinations can lead to the discovery of unique flavors. This process of recombination, taking existing ideas and blending them, can be particularly engaging for gifted individuals who thrive on considering multiple variables. However, this can also lead to frustration when faced with the lack of clear boundaries. Take my experience with publishing, for example. When I began bundling books, I quickly realized the myriad ways to combine a set of 10 books. The number of possible combinations was staggering, from simple groupings to more complex ones. This prompted questions about the usefulness of these combinations and whether they might be perceived as spamming. More importantly, I grappled with where to draw the line. How many combinations were too many? The vagueness of platform rules and the occasional backlash for seemingly innocent actions added to the challenge. Creativity often feels boundless, and while this can be a tremendous asset, it can also be overwhelming. For instance, I have a collection of inspiring images on Pinterest that fuel my painting ideas. I envision a grand piece incorporating elements from these images, but new inspirations constantly emerge, making it hard to complete my original vision. The true constraint is time. Balancing creative aspirations with practical considerations, such as making a living, can be daunting. Inventiveness mirrors this process of reconfiguring existing elements into something novel. Gifted individuals possess a unique aptitude for creativity, but it can become burdensome if not managed well. While many people can be creative, not everyone has the same level of talent or drive. As I've discussed before, giftedness exists on a spectrum, and it's often less about whether one is gifted or not, and more about the extent and nature of that gift. Chapter 12: Keen Sense of Humor. You might not find me particularly funny, and if you're looking for humor in this book, you might be disappointed. However, a keen sense of humor in gifted individuals doesn't necessarily mean their humor is better than anyone else's. Humor is a complex art, and those who study it, like stand-up comedians, often master it through practice and precision. They understand timing, delivery, and how to manipulate expectations to craft a punchline that surprises and delights. What makes a sense of humor keen is not its superiority, but its sharpness and discernment. This type of humor is characterized by its subtlety and the way it engages the audience's intellect. Gifted individuals with a keen sense of humor often excel in choosing the right words and crafting their jokes with a greater degree of precision and nuance. Their humor tends to be suggestive rather than explicit, relying on the audience to make connections and fill in the gaps. For example, consider this subtle joke. A vampire bat enters a cave and is greeted by other bats who notice a fresh smear of blood on his nose. Curious, they ask if he has found fresh blood. The bat leads them on a journey through the cave, across a lake, through trees, and over a mountain, only to stop and point to a distant tree. "Do you see that tree?" he asks. "Yes," they eagerly respond. "Well, I didn't," the bat replies. The humor in this joke lies in its subtlety and the audience's need to connect the dots. The joke plays on the idea that the bat's nosebleed was a result of flying into the tree, not from an exciting find of fresh blood. The bat's failure to see the tree and its consequence, a bloody nose, is left for the audience to infer, making the punchline both surprising and amusing. If the joke had been explained in detail, it would lose its humor. A keen sense of humor in gifted individuals often stems from their ability to quickly analyze and synthesize multiple factors. They can rapidly draw conclusions from complex situations, making the humor both sharp and insightful. This ability to grasp and articulate subtle cues allows them to create humor that is both clever and engaging. While humor can certainly be studied and improved, being gifted often enhances one's ability to pick up on subtle cues, make quick connections, and express ideas articulately. This natural aptitude for humor is less about being the funniest and more about understanding and manipulating the underlying dynamics of comedic timing and expectation. Chapter 13. Ability for fantasy creativity often fuels the ability to conjure elaborate and imaginative storylines. I discovered my own knack for storytelling when I started entertaining my younger sister with impromptu tales. These ranged from funny anecdotes to suspenseful thrillers and romantic escapades. Remarkably, her fascination with these stories continued into her teenage years, a testament to the allure of imaginative storytelling. This experience not only led me to write numerous fiction books under various pen names, but also showed me how easily I could craft a narrative whenever the mood struck. A vivid imagination is a hallmark of many gifted individuals. It's not just about having a wild imagination, but also about being able to visualize abstract concepts and weave them into new and engaging narratives. This talent involves taking elements from memory and combining them in novel ways. Gifted individuals are often adept at thinking in extremes and can push the boundaries of imagination further than most. They might think, if this is possible, then surely that could be too. Or if this event happens, it logically follows that this would occur next. Daydreaming is a common byproduct of this imaginative capacity. For me, daydreaming was a frequent escape from mundane reality. I envisioned everything from romantic fantasies and adventurous stories to alternate universes where I mastered basketball to such an extent that I could defy gravity and shoot flawlessly. These daydreams extended to grand global adventures, although in reality my travels across different continents only fueled my imagination further. Having a rich imagination has its benefits and drawbacks. On one hand, it allows for the creation of unique worlds and stories that captivate and inspire. Many great works of art, literature, and media stem from the creative minds of individuals who can blend various elements into powerful and evocative narratives. This imaginative prowess is invaluable and should be celebrated. On the other hand, returning to practical tasks can be challenging when one is deeply immersed in a fantasy world. Gifted individuals may struggle to stay focused on straightforward or mundane tasks, finding themselves distracted by their own creative thoughts. During high school, for instance, I often found myself drifting away from the lesson and into my own world of cartoons and stories while struggling to stay engaged with monotonous subjects like math. If you have a vibrant imagination, it's important to embrace and channel it. Even if it starts as a hobby, creating art, writing, or composing music can be incredibly fulfilling. Allow yourself time to let your thoughts flow and explore your creative impulses. While achieving results is important, creative fulfillment comes from the act of creating itself. It's about bringing something new into existence, not just the final product. A lack of creative outlets can lead to mental frustration and a feeling of being overwhelmed by a torrent of ideas that have no place to go. Much like a parent dealing with a hungry baby, a creative mind needs an outlet to avoid becoming overwhelmed. Creativity is an intrinsic part of human nature, providing not just satisfaction from the final outcome, but also joy in the process of creation. With that, I'll avoid delving deeper into the nature of creativity and move on to the next trait. Chapter 14, Openness to Stimuli. People on the autism spectrum or with Asperger's syndrome sometimes struggle with sensory overload, where the sheer volume of sensory input becomes overwhelming. A poignant example of this is depicted in the film Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. The protagonist, an intelligent autistic boy, meticulously organizes his search for a particular item, but is continually bombarded by the chaotic stimuli of New York City. At one point, his frustration over the sensory barrage leads him to a rapid-fire rant, which, though challenging for others to follow, helps him manage his thoughts. Similarly, I sometimes find myself overwhelmed by an influx of sensory information, leading to rapid, fragmented speech that others might find difficult to connect. This is a common experience among gifted individuals, where their thinking processes often intertwine with their sensory experiences. However, it's crucial to distinguish this from the experience of gifted individuals. While those on the autism spectrum might find sensory input distressing, gifted people often embrace and engage with the multitude of stimuli around them. My own father, who exhibits some autistic traits, struggles with simultaneous conversations or the noise of multiple crying children, describing it as an assault on his senses. For me, though, such stimuli don't overwhelm, but rather spark curiosity and a drive to understand. Despite not always being a fan of multitasking, something stereotypically associated with male thinking patterns, as Mark Gungor suggests, I find meaning and structure in the array of sensory inputs. For instance, if I hear a baby crying from across the street, my mind quickly generates a flurry of questions. What is the baby's age? Why is he crying? What is the mother doing? Could it be the heat or hunger? Is he missing his nap time? These questions often remain unanswered, leaving me with a sense of unfinished curiosity. The process of seeking answers becomes a reflection on the brevity of life and the limits of what one can know. Similarly, other stimuli, like a bird's song, can trigger a cascade of thoughts. I might wonder about the bird's species, diet, age, or migration patterns. My imagination might even extend to how I could paint the bird and win an award, or lead me to recall a movie featuring a character obsessed with bird species, ultimately reinforcing my resolve to prioritize family over career ambitions. Such thoughts illustrate how stimuli can influence and reshape my goals and perspectives. Gifted individuals often experience a rapid and sometimes perplexing stream of thoughts connecting disparate stimuli. This fast-paced mental processing can make it challenging to explain their thought processes to others, who may find the connections between seemingly unrelated ideas difficult to follow. The tendency to think quickly and make connections in seconds can lead to misunderstandings when communicating these ideas. For those who are gifted, life is a vast, intricate tapestry of possibilities and choices. Their heightened sensitivity to details and stimuli means that every color, sound, or texture can spark extensive analysis and contemplation. This openness to stimuli, while a source of creative and intellectual richness, can also make it challenging to find relaxation or focus, as every new sensory input invites a cascade of thoughts and questions. Chapter 15: Intuitiveness. In exploring the concept of intuition, I came across two definitions that capture its essence quite well. First, intuition is described as the ability to grasp something immediately, without the need for deliberate reasoning. Second, it's defined as a belief or judgment based on instinctive feeling rather than conscious thought. These definitions highlight that intuition operates outside the realm of deliberate reasoning, so often manifesting as an immediate understanding or a gut feeling that precedes our ability to articulate why we feel that way. What's fascinating about intuition is its reliance on an underlying network of experiences, memories, and subtle cues. It's not just a spontaneous emotion, but a rapid conclusion drawn from a complex interplay of past knowledge and sensory input. This process involves connecting disparate pieces of information almost instantaneously. For many, especially those who are gifted, intuition is a reflection of their ability to process and integrate a vast amount of information quickly, even if they can't always explain how they arrived at their conclusions. The intuitive process is akin to having a mental superhighway where thoughts travel at incredible speeds, linking various concepts and experiences. Because this cognitive pathway is so fast and intricate, it can be challenging for those with slower processing speeds to fully grasp or explain the intuitive insights of others. For gifted individuals, intuition often feels like an innate understanding, derived from their ability to perceive and analyze connections and patterns that might elude others. This kind of intuitive knowledge isn't mystical or supernatural. It's grounded in the brain's ability to synthesize and interpret complex information rapidly. The speed at which these conclusions are reached can outpace our ability to articulate them fully. As a result, what might seem like a sudden insight or gut feeling is actually the product of a sophisticated mental process. Intuition, therefore, is not merely an impulsive reaction, but a sophisticated mechanism of rapid understanding built upon a foundation of deep cognitive processing. For gifted individuals, the challenge often lies in bridging the gap between their rapid, intuitive insights and the more methodical reasoning processes of others. Their intuitive grasp of a situation or solution is derived from a multitude of interlinked experiences and knowledge, which can sometimes be difficult to communicate effectively to those who don't process information in the same way. Understanding this can help appreciate why intuition feels so natural and immediate to some, and why it can be challenging to translate that into more conventional explanations or justifications. Chapter 16: Flexibility. Flexibility is a trait often associated with gifted individuals, though it can seem paradoxical given their strong focus on goals. Many might argue that gifted people are not particularly flexible because they appear to be rigidly committed to their plans and can become frustrated when those plans must change. However, flexibility in this context has a nuanced meaning. Flexibility can be defined in two ways. First, as the quality of bending easily without breaking, and second, as the willingness to change or compromise. For gifted individuals, flexibility often manifests through their constant drive to improve and adapt. This adaptability is not about being indecisive or scatterbrained. Rather, it reflects their readiness to adjust their strategies and goals in pursuit of greater achievements. Gifted people frequently display flexibility by being open to revising their plans or goals based on new insights or changing circumstances. This willingness to pivot or adapt is not about abandoning objectives at the slightest inconvenience, but about recognizing when to alter one's approach to achieve success. Their determination and resilience enable them to persevere through challenges, learn from mistakes, and continue advancing toward their goals despite setbacks. Flexibility does not imply a lack of focus or a tendency to be easily swayed by external pressures. In fact, those who criticize others for inflexibility are often those who themselves struggle with adapting to changes. They may expect others to conform to rigid plans while failing to exhibit the same level of adaptability themselves. True flexibility involves the ability to adjust while maintaining a clear sense of direction and purpose, rather than merely reacting to every obstacle. The idea of bending without breaking is particularly significant. It raises questions about how much disruption one can endure before feeling overwhelmed or losing control. A flexible person is one who can navigate through life's uncertainties, adapt to new conditions, and adjust their plans without allowing themselves to become immobilized by challenges. They strike a balance between accepting what cannot be changed and exerting control over what they can influence, all while avoiding excuses for inaction. Ultimately, flexibility for gifted individuals is about the ability to remain agile and responsive in the face of evolving circumstances, all while staying committed to their overarching goals. It involves a continuous process of adapting and refining strategies to align with their aspirations, demonstrating resilience and adaptability as they move forward. Chapter 17: Independence in Social Behavior and Attitude. In my earlier reflections, I touched on my lack of understanding when it comes to trends. The idea of allowing others to dictate one's style or preferences never made sense to me. Why conform to arbitrary standards when you can simply be yourself? This sentiment reflects a broader principle of personal independence that is often prominent among gifted individuals. However, there's a nuanced balance to strike between maintaining individuality and navigating the social landscape effectively. Independence in social behavior doesn't mean rejecting all social norms or conventions. Rather, it involves a selective adherence to social expectations while staying true to oneself. This balance can be tricky. On one hand, it's important to remain authentic, showcasing your best attributes and not feeling compelled to fit into every mold. On the other hand, understanding and respecting socially accepted behaviors is crucial for meaningful interactions and relationships. Social norms like engaging in small talk, showing genuine interest in others, and adhering to certain dress codes are part of this understanding. These behaviors are not merely about blending in, but about facilitating smoother social exchanges and avoiding misunderstandings. For instance, I used to favor casual, youthful clothing, shorts and t-shirts, that made me appear more like a carefree adolescent rather than a mature adult. It was only after reflecting on social perceptions and receiving feedback from my wife that I realized a change was in order. Her encouragement to dress more in line with societal expectations wasn't about abandoning my personal style, but about adapting to social cues that enhance personal interactions. This adaptation doesn't imply that gifted individuals are oblivious to others' opinions. In fact, most people, including those who are gifted, appreciate being liked and respected. What often distinguishes gifted individuals is their tendency to prioritize reason and logic over conforming to popular opinion. They may find it challenging to embrace trends or opinions that seem illogical or superficial. In their view, if something doesn't align with their reasoning or personal truth, it's not worth following just because it's popular. Gifted people often navigate social dynamics with a focus on what interests them personally rather than what's trending. This can sometimes lead them to disregard prevailing trends or hot topics, opting instead to follow their own intellectual or creative pursuits. They might choose to explore ideas or passions that resonate more deeply with them, regardless of their popularity among the broader public. In essence, independence in social behavior for a gifted individual involves a sophisticated interplay between personal authenticity and social integration. It's about finding a middle ground where you can honor your unique qualities while also engaging with the world in a way that fosters meaningful connections. Balancing this independence with an awareness of social norms can lead to more harmonious and fulfilling interactions, allowing gifted individuals to thrive both personally and socially. Chapter 18: Self-Acceptance and Unconcern for Social Norms. Gifted individuals often exhibit a profound sense of self-acceptance. This self-acceptance isn't about narcissism or viewing oneself as superior to others. Rather, it's about recognizing and embracing one's uniqueness without feeling the need to conform to societal standards. It involves acknowledging that being different from the norm is not only acceptable, but is an integral part of who they are. While gifted people are generally secure in their identity, they may occasionally seek validation through achievements or recognition, especially if their self-esteem wavers. This is a common human trait. Most people, regardless of their intellectual capacity, look for external affirmations to bolster their sense of worth. The difference lies in how gifted individuals process these validations. They may achieve success in various fields, but their sense of self-worth is rooted in a deeper understanding of their unique qualities rather than in the approval of others. This aspect of self-acceptance is closely related to the previous discussion on independence in social behavior. Gifted individuals often operate with a high degree of independent thinking. They are open to being influenced by others, but approach these influences with a critical eye. Their acceptance of external ideas or opinions is mediated through a rigorous process of skepticism, rational analysis, and logical reasoning. Before they integrate any external input into their worldview, it must pass through a series of checks and balances against their established understanding of reality. This filter ensures that only ideas that align with their well-considered conclusions make an impact on their perspectives. This rigorous filtering process can sometimes be perceived as stubbornness. Gifted individuals are cautious about what changes they allow in their lives, ensuring that any new influence aligns with their personal beliefs and goals. This caution helps them remain steadfast on their path, pursuing what they believe to be their ultimate purpose with unwavering focus. Their ability to discern and prioritize is a mark of their intellectual prowess. It involves quickly analyzing and sorting distractions from what truly matters. By effectively categorizing and managing influences, gifted individuals can maintain their trajectory towards their goals while staying true to their core values. This skill not only helps them navigate complex social and professional environments, but also reinforces their self-acceptance by ensuring that their actions and beliefs are genuinely reflective of their own principles rather than external pressures. In essence, the self-acceptance of gifted people is intertwined with their capacity for independent thought and their discerning approach to social influences. It reflects a deep understanding of their own identity and a commitment to remaining authentic in a world that often seeks conformity. Chapter 19: Radicalism. The term radicalism often carries a negative connotation. We might immediately think of extremist groups, political upheavals, or violent acts. Even in less extreme contexts, the word can evoke images of intense political debates or uncompromising opinions. These associations are not unfounded, as they reflect aspects of radicalism. However, to understand radicalism more fully, we need to explore its broader definitions and implications. In political science, radicalism refers to the belief that society needs fundamental changes, often achieved through revolutionary methods. A radical person, therefore, is someone with extreme views on such transformations. In the context of religious radicalism, the term is often linked to violent acts performed in the name of faith. When we strip away these specific contexts and consider radicalism more generally as a form of extreme opinion and a desire for significant societal change, it becomes clearer how this concept might intersect with the traits of gifted individuals. It might seem contradictory at first that gifted people, known for their open-mindedness, could exhibit radical tendencies. But the connection is more nuanced. Gifted individuals are indeed open to influence, but this process is often more complex. Each new idea or perspective must pass through a rigorous filtering process where it is evaluated against their well-established beliefs and understanding of reality. This meticulous scrutiny can result in what appears to be radical thinking when gifted individuals firmly adhere to their conclusions. Their ideas may seem extreme because they have been thoroughly vetted through critical analysis and extensive research. Many people resist being proven wrong due to a lack of confidence in their own beliefs. When challenged, they may react defensively, feeling threatened by the doubt cast on their perceptions. Gifted individuals, on the other hand, approach criticism differently. They are usually open to revising their opinions if presented with credible evidence and logical arguments. Their resistance to changing their views is not due to stubbornness, but is rooted in a thorough validation process. They prefer to hold on to their beliefs only after extensive evaluation, which can sometimes be perceived as rigidity or extremism. Gifted individuals often value intellectual integrity and demand evidence to support claims. They have little patience for arguments that lack substantiation or are based on flawed logic. This commitment to reason over rhetoric ensures that their beliefs are not just a matter of opinion, but are supported by careful consideration and proof. Moreover, the desire to change society can be a driving force for gifted people. They often possess a strong sense of justice and are troubled by the inequalities they observe. This sense of fairness can propel them to advocate for significant changes, aligning with the radical notion of seeking profound societal transformation. Their dissatisfaction with the status quo and their pursuit of justice can sometimes manifest as radicalism, particularly when they challenge deeply entrenched systems or norms. In summary, radicalism in the context of gifted individuals is less about impulsive extremism and more about a rigorous, evidence-based approach to understanding and advocating for change. Their radical views are often a result of deep, critical thinking and a strong sense of justice rather than mere obstinacy. This depth of analysis and commitment to truth can make their perspectives seem extreme, but is fundamentally a reflection of their dedication, intellectual integrity, and societal improvement. Chapter 20: Aesthetic and Moral Commitment to Self-Selected Work. Gifted individuals often place greater trust in their own perceptions and experiences than in the opinions of others. They base their conclusions on personal knowledge and understanding, rather than on external status or charisma. While they do enjoy engaging in theoretical discussions, these conversations usually serve a strategic purpose, such as refining their perspectives or influencing their actions, rather than being pursued solely for the sake of discussion. Their independence and critical thinking contribute to a strong commitment to their self-chosen endeavors. Because their decisions are the result of careful consideration and a thorough evaluation of their options, once they commit to a particular path, they pursue it with dedication as long as they find it meaningful. This dedication extends to their relationships as well. Rather than engaging in transient encounters, gifted individuals tend to seek deeper, more meaningful connections. Their commitment to their partners reflects their broader approach to life, valuing quality and substance over superficiality. Gifted individuals also exhibit a strong moral commitment, often adhering firmly to the standards they set for themselves. They are driven by causes they have deemed significant, and their commitment is rooted in a sense of purpose and nobility. If a cause or principle fails to align with their standards, they may experience a sense of emptiness and persistently question its validity. For example, I have personally devoted time to volunteer work with various charities and contributed financially to causes I believe in. My loyalty extends to my family, my faith, and the principles that guide my life. Aesthetic commitment is another facet of how gifted individuals channel their creativity. Many find fulfillment in artistic pursuits, driven by a desire to enrich the world and elevate others' experiences. Art, for them, represents an opportunity to transcend mundane routines and achieve a state of creative joy and inspiration. This passion for art and its impact on others underscores their dedication to making meaningful contributions through their creative endeavors. In summary, gifted individuals' commitment to their self-selected work, whether moral or aesthetic, is characterized by a deep-seated dedication to their personal values and passions. Their independent thinking and thorough evaluation process ensure that their commitments are both meaningful and enduring. This commitment not only drives them to excel in their chosen pursuits, but also reflects their broader approach to life, marked by a quest for deeper connections and a profound appreciation for creativity and purpose. Chapter 21, Unusual Emotional Depth and Intensity. Describing gifted individuals as purely rational, quick-thinking entities might suggest a lack of emotional depth, but this couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, their emotions are often profound and intense, though they may not always be outwardly expressive if they perceive no immediate purpose in doing so. Gifted people experience a complex web of emotions, deeply intertwined with their own experiences, those of others, and even potential scenarios that have yet to unfold. For gifted individuals, emotions are not just surface level reactions, but intricate layers that often require significant introspection to unravel. It's not uncommon for them to find themselves lying back, closing their eyes, and engaging in deep self dialogue to make sense of their feelings. In these moments, they may confront fears or anger and attempt to align their thoughts with strategies to alleviate these negative emotions. The goal is often to achieve a sense of emotional balance and happiness, though this process can be lengthy and involves probing deeply into the roots of their feelings. Anger, for example, is rarely a simple reaction, but is often tied to deeper fears and a perceived lack of control over one's circumstances. A gifted person may use critical thinking to explore these underlying fears, as anger frequently masks a fear that justice may not be served or that one's losses may never be compensated. To attain emotional clarity and well-being, gifted individuals often need to organize their thoughts, whether through introspection or discussions with a trusted partner. The complexity of their thoughts can be overwhelming, and articulating them can help clarify the causes and consequences of their emotions and aid in finding solutions to their problems. Consider the following scenario. I once faced a situation where a large corporation wrongfully deprived me of my assets, exploiting loopholes to divert my earnings into their coffers. Legal avenues proved fruitless, leaving me with several sources of distress. Firstly, the financial loss was significant, and while I could eventually rebuild my business, the mourning process was inevitable. Secondly, the sheer injustice of the situation was infuriating. The idea that such a company could act with impunity and undermine my hard work was difficult to accept. Lastly, the fact that the company continued to enjoy customer trust while I felt powerless to expose their wrongdoing only added to my frustration. Despite my efforts to seek justice or expose the company, the reality was that I could neither recover my losses nor achieve any form of retribution. This sense of helplessness and isolation was a significant emotional burden. I had to come to terms with the fact that some situations are beyond my control, and accepting this was a crucial step in managing my emotional well-being. Overcoming feelings of hurt and frustration, especially when faced with seemingly insurmountable injustices, is a lengthy and challenging process. I found myself grappling with a myriad of thoughts to gain perspective. The journey has been arduous and continues to evolve. But it's important to recognize that injustice, while deeply painful, is not an isolated experience. To help mitigate my feelings of resentment, I tried to rationalize my situation. For instance, I reminded myself that the owner of the company who wronged me might be wealthy and powerful now, but he is also older. The inevitable passage of time means that in a few decades he will be gone, while I will still be here, alive and capable. Even if I had only a small amount of money, the mere fact of being alive would make me richer than he could ever be after his death. This perspective helped me appreciate that material wealth is fleeting and not the ultimate measure of one's worth. Understanding that corruption and greed are age-old problems also provided some comfort. I reminded myself that throughout history, there have been far worse atrocities than my own situation. Reading about the horrors of mass rapes in Yugoslavia, ethnic cleansing in Myanmar, the genocide in Rwanda, and the ongoing human trafficking in the porn industry put my personal struggles into perspective. These comparisons made me realize that despite my hardships, I was fortunate not to be a victim of such extreme suffering. This recognition also fueled my determination to contribute positively to the world rather than retreating into a bubble of self-pity. I focused on cultivating gratitude for the positive aspects of my life, such as my family, talents, and experiences. While money can buy many things, it cannot purchase everything of value. Discovering further evidence of the company's unethical practices reassured me that my concerns were valid and not a figment of my imagination. It allowed me to maintain my integrity and stick to my convictions, much like the protagonist in I, Robot, who stands firm in his beliefs despite the overwhelming influence of deceptive technology. My faith also played a significant role in navigating these feelings. Belief in a higher power offered solace, suggesting that despite my worries, everything would ultimately be okay. While this might not resonate with everyone, maintaining an optimistic outlook is possible even in the face of adversity. Moreover, my belief in an afterlife provided a sense of justice. Although many wrongdoers may evade consequences in this life, my faith holds that there is a divine reckoning in the afterlife, where justice is served. This belief, though sometimes forgotten in moments of despair, offers comfort and hope. In confronting life's inevitable losses and disappointments, talking to oneself and reframing thoughts can be particularly helpful for gifted individuals. Engaging in self-dialogue and affirmations can maintain mental clarity and emotional stability. During my time at Art Academy, I observed that while many students were proficient in painting and drawing, few engaged in deep philosophical discussions about art. My own experience with philosophy classes, which I found immensely fascinating, highlighted a unique aspect of my giftedness. Unlike those who might follow trends or doctrines without question, gifted individuals often enjoy delving into the complexities of life, perception, and reality. This philosophical approach allows for a more profound understanding of one's experiences and emotions, contributing to a richer, more organized approach to navigating life's challenges. Chapter 22: Sensitivity or Empathy to the Feelings of Others. The connection between giftedness and empathy can be puzzling, especially when comparing it to traits often associated with autism. While individuals with autism may struggle with empathy, experiencing difficulty understanding others' feelings or social cues, this is not a defining characteristic of gifted people. Autistic individuals often become deeply absorbed in their own interests, which can make it challenging for them to perceive or relate to others' emotions. This egocentrism, though not intentional, contrasts with the inherent sensitivity found in many gifted individuals. Gifted people, on the other hand, tend to experience profound empathy. They are often deeply moved by the suffering of others and wish for universal happiness and peace. This empathy can manifest in various ways, such as feeling an overwhelming sense of responsibility for the pain of others, even if those others are no longer suffering. For example, one might feel the lingering cries of victims from past atrocities, such as the Cambodian genocide under the Khmer Rouge, or a deep desire to protect vulnerable individuals from harm, despite the vastness of the problem. This empathetic sensitivity can extend to a deep concern for individuals who may be struggling, even if their distress is not overtly expressed. Gifted individuals might sense when someone is upset or struggling, and this intuitive understanding can lead to a genuine desire to alleviate others' pain or discomfort. This level of empathy reflects a sincere concern for humanity's well-being and joy. However, empathy does not always come with clear solutions. Feeling what others are feeling, while a profound gift, does not always provide a clear path for action. It can be frustrating to recognize others' suffering and feel powerless to change their circumstances. This frustration can be compounded by encounters with individuals who take advantage of one's willingness to help, as was the case with my wife and me when a couple we tried to assist misled us and attempted legal action over a misunderstanding. Such experiences underscore the importance of discerning character and setting boundaries. One effective way to channel empathy is by helping others understand themselves better. If you are gifted and adept with language and communication, you might find it easier to ask probing questions that uncover the root causes of someone's distress. By guiding others through their thoughts and emotions, you can assist them in discovering their own solutions. This approach not only helps them, but can also provide a sense of fulfillment and purpose. Gifted individuals with strong communication skills might excel in fields like psychology, where their natural empathy and insight can be invaluable. Ultimately, while empathy can be a powerful motivator to support others, it is essential to balance this with self-care and careful judgment to avoid being exploited. Developing a keen sense of character assessment can enhance one's ability to offer genuine support while protecting oneself from potential harm. Chapter 24: Heightened Self-Awareness and Feeling of Being Different. If you're gifted, you might have noticed that you often stand apart from others. Many people lack empathy, follow trends without questioning, act on impulses, and don't engage in deep thinking. Recognizing this can be eye-opening, but it also means that you might find yourself feeling isolated or misunderstood, as your experiences and perspectives diverge significantly from those around you. Gifted individuals frequently experience a heightened sense of self-awareness. This often manifests as constant reflection on their actions, motivations, and choices. In my own experience, I find myself endlessly evaluating the morality of my decisions, considering whether I've acted out of impulse or deliberate intention, and pondering whether I'm missing out on opportunities. Questions about personal boundaries and the consequences of my actions are ever present in my mind. While many people could benefit from such introspection, for those who are gifted, it can become a persistent and sometimes exhausting process. This relentless self-examination is not just a passing thought, but a continuous aspect of daily life. It's both a strength and a burden, reflecting the deep level of self-awareness that characterizes gifted individuals. Chapter 24: Heightened Self-Awareness and Feeling of Being Different. If you're gifted, you might have noticed that you often feel distinct from others. Many people lack empathy, follow trends without much thought, act impulsively, and avoid deep reflection. Understanding this can be enlightening, but it can also lead to feelings of isolation or misunderstanding, as your unique experiences and viewpoints set you apart. Gifted individuals typically possess a heightened sense of self-awareness. This manifests as an ongoing process of reflection on their actions, motivations, and choices. In my experience, I find myself constantly evaluating the morality of my decisions, questioning whether my actions stem from impulse or thoughtful intent, and considering if I might be missing out on opportunities. I frequently contemplate personal boundaries and the potential consequences of my actions. Although many people could benefit from such introspection, for gifted individuals, it often becomes a relentless and exhausting endeavor. This continuous self-examination is not merely a fleeting thought, but an integral part of daily life. It represents both a strength and a burden, embodying the profound self-awareness that characterizes gifted individuals. Chapter 25: Easily Emotionally Wounded. Gifted individuals, despite their strong capacity for rational thinking and perspective, can be particularly vulnerable to emotional pain, especially when they allow someone to get close. The reason behind this vulnerability is that gifted people often shun superficial or insincere relationships, preferring instead to engage deeply with others. To protect themselves from potential harm, they often erect emotional barriers, gradually becoming more adept at discerning who can be trusted and who might pose a threat. In my own life, I recall my parents frequently telling me that I was overly sensitive. They never fully grasped the origins of my sensitivity, but they noticed how easily I could be hurt and how quickly I would retreat into my shell, finding it difficult to trust those who had intentionally or unintentionally caused me harm. If you're gifted and find yourself struggling with this challenge, it's important to recognize that your sensitivity has a purpose. Your empathy and emotional depth make you susceptible to being wounded if you place too much trust in the wrong people. However, these same qualities also make deep, meaningful connections essential to your well-being. Without them, you may feel isolated and misunderstood. The key is to carefully identify those individuals you can truly trust. Whether it's a parent, sibling, or partner, finding someone with whom you can share your thoughts and feelings without fear of betrayal is crucial. These deeper connections are vital for gifted individuals, but they often take time to develop. It can be frustrating when social interactions don't immediately lead to the profound relationships you crave, but patience and discernment are necessary to build the trust that forms the foundation of meaningful connections. This need for deep, authentic relationships is a core aspect of the gifted experience. Superficial interactions often leave you feeling unfulfilled, as they don't offer the emotional and intellectual depth you seek. While this can lead to feelings of loneliness or frustration, it's important to remember that the journey to finding those who truly understand and value you is worth the effort. By cultivating patience and refining your ability to judge character, you can protect yourself from unnecessary hurt while still remaining open to the possibility of deep and rewarding connections. Chapter 26: Need for consistency between abstract values and personal actions. Consistency is crucial for a gifted person. They tend to live by their word and find it difficult to understand when others fail to follow through. I often find myself baffled, like Malcolm from Malcolm in the Middle, making that familiar why face when I encounter inconsistency in others. Inconsistency creates confusion and makes it impossible to rely on patterns or predict behavior. In horror movies, the most terrifying aspect isn't the sharp teeth of a monster or the eerie presence of a ghost. It's the unpredictability of psychotic or sociopathic characters. The fear comes from not knowing if or when someone might suddenly lash out or act violently. People place their trust in those they can predict. But when faced with someone who is unpredictable, it becomes unsettling and deeply frightening. I've had personal experiences with sociopaths who got too close to me or my family, and the fear stemmed from the uncertainty of what they might do next. This need for consistency ties into broader themes like honesty, integrity, and goal-oriented thinking. People often tell me I'm not a good liar, which I take as a compliment because it reflects my commitment to keeping my conscience clean and living transparently. Of course, there are things I choose to keep private, like my financial information or certain business practices, but those are for protection, not out of shame. Striving for consistency between our values and actions is an ongoing effort, something we all grapple with, myself included. Chapter 27: Advanced Levels of Moral Judgment. Gifted individuals often possess a nuanced and multifaceted sense of moral judgment. While this doesn't guarantee they're always right, it does mean that when faced with moral dilemmas, they tend to avoid hasty decisions or jumping to conclusions. Their ability to discern between truth and error typically grows stronger over time as they accumulate experiences and listen to their conscience, though this development is influenced by the choices they make. This advanced moral judgment is closely tied to other qualities, such as empathy and analytical thinking. Empathy allows them to grasp the emotions of others, while their tendency to thoroughly analyze situations ensures they consider a wide range of factors, variables, and circumstances before forming a conclusion. This depth of understanding doesn't prevent them from condemning immoral acts, but it does allow them to comprehend the complexities behind such actions. For instance, a serial killer who was abused in childhood might evoke empathy and sorrow for what could have been a life turned toward good. However, this understanding doesn't negate the fact that the killer's actions must still be subject to the law, which exists to prevent further harm and protect society. In a world full of complexities, intentions, and motives, the ability to engage in deep moral reasoning is invaluable. It prevents the oversimplification of issues into black and white terms, a tendency often seen in those with attachment issues or those who simply echo generalized statements without deeper understanding. By cultivating advanced moral judgment, Gifted individuals can navigate the intricacies of life with a more profound sense of justice and empathy. Chapter 28: Idealism and a Strong Sense of Justice. We've touched on the topic of a strong sense of justice, and I have to admit, it often leaves me feeling pretty angry when I see the ways people harm each other. To manage this, I try to limit my exposure to news, which is often designed to provoke anger, and instead focus on my own life and beliefs. I also hold on to a strong belief in a just God, though I understand if that seems far-fetched to some. I have friends who aren't religious, and one of them once told me how frustrating it is to witness so much injustice in the world. She said, "It must be easier for you because at least you believe in justice in the afterlife." While that might be true, it's not always easy to remember when I'm in the grip of anger. This sense of justice ties into another trait, a deep-seated idealism. As someone who tends toward perfectionism and often feels that things are never good enough, I sometimes find myself frustrated by the fact that nothing in this world is truly ideal. Let's be honest, what really lives up to our idealized visions? Take sex, for example. It's one of those things that people often fantasize about as being perfect. In a great relationship, it can indeed be one of the most beautiful experiences on earth. But even then, it's not without its flaws. There are body functions that are messy or unpleasant, hormonal imbalances that mean one partner might be in the mood while the other isn't, and the simple fact that our energy isn't limitless. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about my intimate relationship with my wife. In fact, I think ours is as good as it gets. But is it ideal? No, and it never will be. An ideal scenario would involve complete control over bodily functions, endless energy, perfect timing, never getting tired, and having full control over one's appearance. You'd always feel emotionally connected with no misunderstandings or unfulfilled fantasies. But even something as highly valued as intimacy falls short of the idealistic standards we sometimes set in our minds. Idealism, while motivating, often leaves us grappling with the inevitable imperfections of life. It's a constant reminder that while we can strive for perfection, reality rarely aligns with our highest expectations. A tropical beach. Picture yourself lounging under a palm tree, sipping a cocktail with a tiny umbrella in it. Sounds like paradise, right? I've been on those kinds of vacations and they're wonderful. The calm, the food, the scent of the ocean, all of it. I'm not one to complain about life, and I genuinely enjoy those experiences. But the thing about being gifted is that you can't help but notice that everything, no matter how great, could be a little better, and that thought can be maddening. For one, those vacations don't last, and even in such a beautiful setting, loneliness can creep in, or you might find yourself tired, hungry, annoyed, or even bickering with your partner over something trivial. I remember taking our toddler to a tropical resort. We loved it, but we also had to deal with a 1-year-old skipping naps, battling jet lag, unable to communicate her needs, and leaving us with very little privacy. Even when it was just the two of us in Hawaii, after 2 weeks, we were ready to head home. We even decided that next time, 10 days would be plenty. A giant TV and all the video games in the world. Gaming and movies can be incredibly fun, but after a while, I just reach a point where I've had enough. I start itching to get up, do something productive, or just be active. In a flawed, imperfect world, not even unlimited money can buy health or extend life. Many celebrities openly admit that they're tired of the constant attention, while others seem addicted to the superficial praise from people who hardly know them. Life isn't ideal. It's a strange mix of opposites, good and bad, joy and frustration. For a gifted person who's always striving for improvement, advancement, or perfection, it can be particularly frustrating to realize that some things, no matter how satisfying on some level, will never be perfect or fully within reach. Chapter 29: Spontaneity. When we think of spontaneity, it's often believed to be at odds with being a good planner. However, the two can coexist seamlessly. I do a lot of planning, strategizing, predicting, and trying to anticipate the future. Yet, I also experience moments of spontaneity driven by how quickly my mind moves from one thought to the next. If I feel it's right to act on impulse, it's not out of the question for me to do so. A gifted person can swiftly analyze whether something is appropriate within seconds or less, allowing them to maintain control while engaging in something unplanned, simply because it's enjoyable. The high energy many gifted individuals possess often fuels a rapid generation of ideas, which can sometimes be overwhelming. The frustration comes when they can't pursue all of these ideas, even when some are truly excellent. Time constraints and other limitations force them to let go of many ideas, despite their potential. Balancing the drive to finish and accomplish things with the tendency to generate countless possibilities is a challenging mix. Ideas, after all, are only valuable when they are executed, but not all are worth the time and effort when compared to more effective ones. This can be difficult to accept. Sometimes, when the weight of seriousness lifts, and most gifted people are highly serious, they allow themselves to release their goals and ambitions. They embrace a live in the moment mentality to relax and push expectations aside. This can lead to spontaneous and fun moments, like the time we unexpectedly had a cake fight after dinner, or decided to visit the park or a restaurant without prior planning. Chapter 30: Boundless Enthusiasm. Gifted people often exhibit a deep and varied enthusiasm for many things. This enthusiasm might seem at odds with the fact that I was often labeled as a serious child, but in reality, the two qualities are not contradictory. Let me explain. Enthusiasm can manifest in different ways. Some express it outwardly and exuberantly, while others do so more subtly and privately. Many gifted individuals are acutely aware of how their passions might be perceived by others. To avoid being seen as overly intense or weird, they often temper their outward displays of excitement. Instead of overt expressions, their enthusiasm might be revealed in more restrained ways: a slight smirk, a twinkle in the eyes, or a quietly focused energy. This quiet enthusiasm is no less powerful than a more overt expression. For many gifted individuals, excitement isn't just a fleeting emotion. It's a driving force that fuels their pursuit of knowledge, creativity, and personal growth. Whether it's a new project, a challenging hobby, the discovery of a fascinating piece of information, or the mastery of a skill, the intensity of their interest is always present, even if it's not always visible to others. They might dive deep into a subject, spending hours engrossed in research or practice, their passion propelling them forward with a determination that is often misunderstood as mere seriousness. My wife often tells me that when I get excited, there's a noticeable twinkle in my eyes, as if I'm a little boy opening a Christmas present. This twinkle usually appears when I see a new opportunity to bring an idea to life or finally get the chance to do something I've been eagerly anticipating. For me, and for many others who share this trait, these moments of quiet, intense enthusiasm are some of the most rewarding experiences in life. They are moments when the world seems full of possibilities, and the joy of discovery or creation becomes almost tangible. This boundless enthusiasm, though often restrained in its outward expression, is a defining characteristic of gifted individuals. It's a wellspring of energy and motivation that drives them to explore, create, and achieve. Even if it's not always visible to those around them, it is always there, quietly shaping their thoughts, actions, and the way they experience the world. Chapter 31: Intensely Focused on Passions. When a gifted individual discovers a passion, they tend to hold on to it with unwavering dedication. Even though other interests might catch their attention, they often push those aside, recognizing that they can't devote their energy to everything simultaneously. This isn't just about being passionate, it's about an intense focus that drives them to immerse themselves fully in that particular interest. The combination of passion and hyperfocus is powerful, and it makes perfect sense when you consider the other traits that often accompany giftedness: a deep sense of selectivity regarding goals and an intense focus on what truly matters to them. For a gifted person, choosing a goal tied to a passion is not a decision made lightly. They don't simply follow an interest on a whim. They meticulously evaluate whether it aligns with their long-term vision and values. The chosen path must be the optimal one, the best use of their time, energy, resources, and emotional investment. They carefully weigh multiple options and potential directions, ultimately selecting the one that resonates most profoundly with their inner drive. This deliberate approach ensures that when they commit to something, it is with full conviction and clarity. This doesn't mean they abandon all other hobbies or interests. Gifted individuals are often multi-talented and curious, with a wide range of pursuits. However, when it comes to their primary passion, they channel their energies with remarkable intensity. They might explore other interests, but these explorations usually occur in the periphery, never detracting from their central focus. Their passion becomes the core around which their actions, thoughts, and plans revolve. Because they take life seriously and possess strong willpower and self-discipline, they direct this intense focus toward achieving the goals related to their passion. It's not just a matter of liking something, it's about committing to it, fulling it with a level of dedication that can seem almost relentless to outside observers. The drive to see their passion through to fruition becomes a guiding force in their lives, shaping their decisions, actions, and even their sense of identity. This intense focus on their passions is a defining characteristic of gifted individuals. It's not merely an interest or a hobby, it's a central part of who they are. They pursue their passions with a depth of commitment that often leads to remarkable achievements. This focus can bring immense satisfaction and fulfillment, as it allows them to delve deeply into the things that truly matter to them, turning their passions into meaningful and often life-defining pursuits. Chapter 32: Highly energetic, needs little sleep or downtime. When something captures the mind of a gifted individual, their brain can become a whirlwind of ideas, strategies for achieving goals, and visions of future success. This intense drive to achieve and do things the right way, combined with a constant analysis to avoid mistakes and optimize efforts, fuels them with an extraordinary amount of energy, often leaving little need for sleep. This doesn't mean they always sleep less. There are times when this relentless energy takes a toll, and they find themselves suddenly drained. But overall, they tend to be productive, creative, and insatiably curious, always eager to learn more and accomplish more. The concept of sleep can feel like an irritating necessity, a mandatory pause in their otherwise relentless pursuit of goals. Personally, I despise the idea of sleep. It feels like a necessary waste of time. If I could function without it, I would do so without hesitation. For many gifted individuals, relaxing is equally unappealing. Although I once spent an entire day lounging on a beach in Italy, allowing my thoughts to drift aimlessly and enjoying the unstructured time, such moments are rare for me. Most of the time, I find relaxation tedious. Idleness feels like a missed opportunity, a time when nothing is being produced or created. The urge to create, to shape the world in some small way, is a powerful force that can make simple observation feel hollow. John Da Silva captures this creative drive well in his Shots of Awe videos on YouTube, where he uses vivid language like ecstasy and touching the divine within us to describe the almost spiritual need to create and reconstruct even a tiny fragment of the universe into something awe-inspiring. I recall my time at the Art Academy, where I studied for a year. Many of the teachers there emphasized the importance of drawing and painting realistic scenes. While there was value in mastering the ability to depict reality as it is, something I improved at during my time there, many of the instructors were quite rigid in their approach. They dismissed comic art or imaginative creations as cliché, pushing us to focus strictly on what our senses perceived without venturing into the realm of the unreal. However, one day I encountered a teacher who stood out for his openness to new ideas. Unlike the others, he wasn't confined by tradition or ego. and his intelligence was apparent in his willingness to embrace creativity. I vividly remember him telling me, after I had deviated from strictly realistic work, "I think reality is boring most of the time. Altering reality into something new can be incredibly refreshing." Though I may not recall his exact words, the message was clear. Don't settle for what already exists. Use your uniqueness to shape the world in the most beautiful way possible. This idea resonated deeply with me, reinforcing the notion that gifted individuals are driven not only by a need to achieve, but also by a desire to create, innovate, and leave their own distinct mark on the world. Chapter 33: Constantly questions things. Science has demonstrated that our understanding of the world is constantly evolving. We now know that the Earth is not flat, that we are likely not alone in the universe, and that the Sun does not orbit the Earth but rather the other way around. Many myths have been debunked over time. For instance, I personally doubt the existence of Nessie, if it ever existed, and I believe Nostradamus was often incorrect, despite occasional hits. These are simply my views, but they reflect a broader tendency among gifted individuals to question and scrutinize information rather than accepting it at face value. Gifted people are often driven by a desire to understand the truth, which means they are naturally inclined to question things. They are open to new evidence that challenges existing beliefs or debunks myths, and they seek to understand why errors occur in the search for truth, whether due to genuine mistakes or deliberate deception. Sometimes information is concealed for various reasons, including financial gain or other forms of corruption. It's not uncommon for people or institutions to cover up inconvenient truths. I recently spoke with a former police officer who had moved from a small town, and his account was both revealing and troubling. Although I don't recall his exact words, my memory isn't perfect, I remember the core of his story vividly. He described his experience in a small mountain town where he and his family had settled. Despite his trust in the community and the integrity of its members, he uncovered troubling records that were never followed up on. When he approached the sheriff with these files, he was told, "Oh, we didn't think it was important to look into that." Upon reviewing the reports, he found evidence of racial violence, rape, and various forms of abuse, including incidents involving prominent religious leaders in the town. His investigation revealed that some officers had intentionally ignored these reports to protect the reputations of church leaders. The corruption extended to both the police and the church, with widespread cover-ups involving domestic abuse by trusted community figures. Eventually, he sued the police department, but this action forced him to relocate and be reassigned elsewhere. While I don't know the outcome of his court case, he continues to be active in a different branch of his church and maintains his faith in its teachings, despite the betrayal he witnessed. This story underscores the reality that corruption and dishonesty are often driven by factors like sex, fame, power, and money. Gifted individuals often possess a skepticism that serves them well in recognizing and avoiding deceitful practices. This critical mindset has helped me navigate numerous scams and deceptive offers, whether from individuals or companies that appear trustworthy but engage in questionable practices. While it is important to maintain a healthy level of skepticism, it does not mean one should doubt everything. For instance, some fundamental truths, like 1 plus 1 equaling 2, can be accepted without constant scrutiny. However, cultivating critical thinking skills remains valuable in navigating a world where not everything is as it seems. Chapter 34: Perseverance and Determination in Areas They Find Important. Building on the themes of self-discipline and goal-oriented thinking, perseverance and determination are qualities that often define how gifted individuals approach their passions. This intensity can sometimes appear excessive to others. People have often commented that I take life too seriously, yet they also recognize and admire my unwavering perseverance and commitment to seeing things through to the end, regardless of obstacles. Throughout my life, I've encountered numerous discouraging situations that initially set me back. However, these challenges have rarely derailed me for long. For instance, my brother frequently expresses admiration for my self discipline, noting that it is a key reason he looks up to me. Gifted individuals often possess an intense focus on what they deem most important, accompanied by a relentless drive to pursue these goals. This focus translates into a serious commitment to working diligently towards achieving their objectives without letting setbacks deter them. The depth of this determination can sometimes seem extreme to those around them. Gifted individuals might dive into their pursuits with such fervor that it appears they are single-mindedly obsessed. However, this is not merely a matter of stubbornness. It reflects a deep-seated passion and a drive to excel in areas they consider significant. The seriousness with which they approach their goals is rooted in a profound belief in their importance, which fuels their ongoing efforts and persistence. This commitment often manifests in a continuous cycle of working, adjusting, and striving towards their goals. The path may be fraught with difficulties, but the determination to overcome these challenges remains steadfast. This perseverance is not just about enduring hardships, but about maintaining a clear focus on what truly matters to them, ensuring that their efforts are not in vain. In essence, the perseverance and determination that come with being gifted are driven by a combination of intense focus and a deep sense of purpose. They are qualities that enable gifted individuals to push through obstacles, stay committed to their goals, and continually strive for excellence in the areas they find most meaningful. Chapter 35: Volatile Temper, related to perceptions of failure due to perfectionism. Gifted individuals often harbor an intense belief that they can surpass ordinary human limitations and achieve extraordinary feats. This isn't about feeling superior or more deserving of praise, but rather about their frustration with perceived weaknesses and limitations. Their idealism and ambition drive them to push beyond their current abilities, striving for perfection and transcendence. My wife frequently remarks, "You can't do that. Nobody can. It's part of being human." To which my typical response is, "Just because others can't do it doesn't mean I can't." This mindset is reflective of a common trait among gifted people, a reluctance to accept their limitations. They often struggle to come to terms with the fact that there are some things beyond their grasp. Reverse psychology can be especially effective in these situations. For instance, our 4-year-old, who shares a similar personality with me, becomes intensely motivated when challenged. If she hears, "She can't do it," "I don't think she's good enough to finish those last 3 bites on her plate," she'll often respond with a determined, "Watch me," and proceed to complete the task, despite our various attempts to encourage her through other means. Reverse psychology works on many people, as everyone craves validation and belief from others. Even those who outwardly appear indifferent can feel self-doubt when faced with criticism, whether it comes from social media, parents, or other sources. Many parents understand that telling a child, "I'm very disappointed in you," can be one of the most severe forms of punishment. The desire for approval from caregivers is a fundamental aspect of human nature. On the flip side, affirming a gifted person's abilities can also be a powerful motivator. I have pursued many of my goals despite the odds, largely because of the encouragement and belief from people I trust. This belief, combined with a determination to exceed limits and push boundaries, is a significant strength. It drives individuals to achieve what others might deem impossible, often leading them to take calculated risks to meet high expectations. One of my favorite cartoons is Turbo. I was amused to see a character reminiscent of one I drew in a snail comic about 15 years before the film's release. The film's central message is about aiming higher and defying the limits imposed by Mother Nature. The protagonist's journey of persistence and self-belief resonates deeply with those who struggle to achieve more than they think possible. The movie reinforces the value of believing in oneself and pursuing one's passions, offering a touch of inspiration for those seeking affirmation. However, While this drive and determination can be powerful, they also have their downsides. The very qualities that enable gifted individuals to achieve extraordinary things can also lead to a volatile temper when their perfectionistic standards are not met. This section's title, Volatile Temper Related to Perceptions of Failure Due to Perfectionism, captures this duality. The pursuit of perfection can lead to intense frustration and emotional volatility when expectations are not met, highlighting the complex interplay between strengths and weaknesses in the gifted personality. Some experiences in my life might not have seemed like failures to others, but for me, they felt like significant setbacks. For example, I once invested $20,000 into a business venture. After more than a year, my wife and I managed to make $25,000, but the progress was slow, and I had to eventually abandon the project and seek other opportunities. While some might view this as a learning experience or a modest success, I saw it as a failure due to my expectations and the pace of progress. This highlights how perceptions of failure can vary significantly. For gifted individuals, a project or effort that falls short of perfection is often considered a failure, regardless of any objective success or lessons learned. Their standards are set so high that anything less than flawless can feel like a letdown. Reflecting on my childhood, I recall a period of intense frustration despite having a fulfilling and creative experience. As a young child, I was passionate about art and could draw remarkably well at just 4 years old. Teachers were frequently impressed with my creativity and precision, and by the age of 8, I had a queue of classmates eager to receive one of my drawings. Despite my growing popularity, I struggled to keep up with demand because I was obsessed with perfecting each drawing. Compliments like, "Wow, that's so beautiful. Can you make one for me?" were often met with my standard reply, "Sure, I'll add you to the list. I don't know when I'll get around to it, though." This perfectionism became a source of significant frustration. I remember vividly the anguish I felt when trying to replicate characters like Ninja Turtles or He-Man action figures. My focus on achieving exact likenesses often led to me crumpling up my drawings in frustration and shouting about minor imperfections, such as the placement of a character's nose. My mother, ever supportive, would praise my work, but I was rarely satisfied with anything less than perfect. This ongoing self-criticism, despite the praise I received, taught me that what others might perceive as a short temper in me was often a result of accumulated frustration related to imperfections, injustices, or lack of clarity. Perfectionism also brings with it another challenge, an acute tendency to find faults in everything and everyone. While it's true that some people are overly critical or quick to feel slighted, for many gifted individuals, this critical nature stems from a deep-seated drive to improve and perfect. This ability to identify flaws can be beneficial, pushing them to make continuous improvements. However, it can also be off-putting to others who may find the constant critique difficult to handle. In essence, while perfectionism can fuel extraordinary achievements and drive personal growth, it can also lead to significant dissatisfaction and interpersonal challenges. The quest for perfection often means that any deviation from the ideal is seen as a failure, and this relentless pursuit can be both a strength and a source of deep frustration. Here's an example from my experience at a fitness club, where we pay a monthly fee for access to various amenities, including a swimming pool, sauna, steam room, basketball court, one of my favorites, and numerous workout machines. Among these features is a movie theater room equipped with fitness machines, allowing members to watch movies while exercising. I use this room occasionally because, well, who doesn't want to burn calories while watching a film? However, I often find the experience frustrating due to the inconsistent details that detract from its overall quality. The room's temperature, subtitles, sound, and lighting are frequently off, which makes the experience less enjoyable. On one particular visit, I reached my limit. This is a common trait among gifted individuals, an acute sensitivity to details and a rapid processing of issues that others might overlook or not notice. I spoke up about the issues, which reminded me of a scene from Malcolm in the Middle, where the main character quickly identifies multiple problems with a picture after just a brief glance. I expressed my concerns by saying, I was trying to watch a movie in your theater room, and while I usually enjoy it, today was different. The lights are off, making it difficult to navigate while running. The movie's subtitles are missing, the sound is too soft, and the image is blurry. Plus, the fans aren't on, so it's uncomfortably hot in here. Can you please address these issues? I received some puzzled looks, but at least they made the necessary adjustments. I imagine they might have been irritated by my feedback, but to me, it wasn't personal. I wasn't angry, just genuinely annoyed. I simply didn't understand why they wouldn't check these details themselves. On a related note, if you suspect you might be gifted, watching Malcolm in the Middle could be enlightening. The show vividly portrays the experiences of gifted individuals, including the main character and his friends, capturing elements like high intelligence, rapid speech, extreme conscientiousness, and frustrations with the perceived ignorance of others. It's one of the funniest TV series I've encountered, and if you're anywhere on the gifted spectrum, you might find it particularly relatable. It's worth noting that telling gifted individuals to take responsibility or implying they're making excuses doesn't usually help. Many self-help or motivational talks are designed for those who lack self-drive, and gifted people often interpret these messages as implying they're failing because they're not trying hard enough. This is rarely the case. Chapter 36, Nonstop Talking or Chattering. Sometimes I catch myself engaging in what can only be described as nonstop talking or chattering. This tendency often arises when I've organized my thoughts and feel compelled to share them with someone who is genuinely interested. Given the complexity and depth of the subjects I delve into, these discussions can become quite lengthy. What makes perfect sense to me might not always be immediately clear to others who haven't followed the same train of thought or connected the dots in the same way. When I'm passionate about a particular topic, it's usually because I've invested significant time researching and understanding it. I've pieced together various pieces of information and insights, forming a comprehensive picture. In such instances, when I finally find someone who listens with genuine interest, I tend to unload the entire breadth of my discoveries and thoughts. This can sometimes come across as relentless talking. To an outside observer, it may seem like I'm rambling on without pause. However, every point I make is typically interconnected and relevant to the broader discussion. There's a method and purpose behind the conversation, even if it might appear overwhelming or disjointed to someone who isn't familiar with the subject matter or the process of thought I've gone through. This nonstop chattering isn't just a matter of verbosity. It's a reflection of the intricate and layered nature of my thinking. Each detail, no matter how small, plays a role in the overall narrative I'm sharing. For those who truly listen, the connections become clearer, and the seemingly endless flow of information starts to make sense. It's all part of a larger picture, one that I'm eager to convey to anyone who shows a genuine interest in understanding it. Chapter 37, High Levels of Frustration, especially about meeting often self-imposed standards. Gifted individuals frequently impose exceptionally high expectations on themselves. These self-imposed standards are not merely aspirations, but deep-seated beliefs about their own capabilities. Even if someone advises them to ease up on these pressures, it may not be the most effective approach for dealing with their tendencies. Firstly, managing these high expectations is inherently difficult. Gifted people often set these standards instinctively, driven by an inner drive and an internalized message of perfectionism, which is perpetuated by figures like motivational speakers or high-profile executives. Comparing oneself to others can be particularly damaging and counterproductive. This habit of comparison often leads to diminishing self-esteem and stunted progress. Instead, while comparing oneself to one's past achievements can be somewhat beneficial, it still risks leading to self-criticism and feelings of inadequacy if not handled properly. For gifted individuals, this self-pressure is not about flaunting their abilities to others, but rather about proving to themselves that they can overcome limits and achieve the seemingly impossible. The frustration stemming from limitations is particularly acute for them. It is not so much about external validation, but about overcoming internal fears and demonstrating control over their circumstances. The fear of being powerless or incapable is a significant source of anxiety. Gifted individuals often strive to defy conventional boundaries and showcase possibilities that others may doubt. This belief in endless potential and the ability to transcend current limitations is a logical extension of their worldview. Just as a person from 200 years ago might have viewed a modern iPhone with awe and disbelief, gifted individuals often hold on to the belief that the seemingly unattainable can be achieved. Thus, encountering limitations directly challenges their core belief in their potential and fuels their frustration. However, it's important to recognize that these high expectations, while a source of frustration, also drive significant accomplishments. The relentless pursuit of excellence and the quest to push boundaries often lead to remarkable achievements in various fields, whether in intellectual endeavors, artistic creations, or scientific discoveries. This drive can help gifted individuals achieve extraordinary success, making their high standards a double-edged sword. Offering sincere and relevant praise can be more effective than merely advising them to lower their expectations. Gifted individuals are highly perceptive and can easily discern when compliments are insincere or irrelevant. A compliment that touches on something they genuinely care about or acknowledges their unique efforts and achievements will be appreciated and valued. However, superficial or generic praise will often be seen through and may not have the desired effect. The most meaningful compliment you can offer a gifted person is to genuinely engage with their interests and think alongside them. For instance, if someone is passionate about chemistry and has set up a lab in their bedroom filled with experiments and occasional explosions, a generic compliment like, "You're good at chemistry," will likely have little impact. Instead, a more thoughtful approach would be to say, "I see you're really into chemistry and have been working on some exciting projects. Can you tell me more about what you're currently working on?" This kind of engagement invites them into a deeper conversation and shows that you are interested in their process and challenges. However, it's crucial to actively listen and try to understand their explanations. If you respond with, "I don't understand any of this, but it's great that you're so brilliant," it can be disheartening. This kind of reaction suggests a lack of genuine interest and may make them feel that their efforts and challenges are not being acknowledged. Gifted individuals often seek to collaborate and brainstorm solutions to the problems they encounter, rather than simply receiving praise. They are motivated by the intellectual challenge of solving problems and pushing boundaries, not by ego gratification. If you can offer insights or help them navigate obstacles, they are likely to appreciate it, even if you are not the originator of the ideas. Frustration with being stuck is a common experience. My own enjoyment of video games reflects this. I prefer games that provide clear direction and solve problems efficiently. Repeated failures without progress are particularly vexing. On the other hand, my brother enjoys sandbox games where there are numerous possibilities, side missions, and alternative storylines. He thrives in that freedom, whereas I find it overwhelming and distracting from the main objective. This divergence highlights how different approaches to problem solving and goal setting can be both stimulating and frustrating. Returning to the frustration associated with high standards, it's important to recognize that these standards are deeply significant for a gifted individual. For them, failing to meet self-imposed benchmarks can feel like a personal weakness or failure. Convincing them that making mistakes is acceptable can be challenging, as their internal logic often dictates that these standards were set based on infallible reasoning and strong emotional investment. I recall a personal experience where I was determined to overcome a particular habit. Despite the advice of others that my mistakes were minor, I found each lapse deeply frustrating. It wasn't just about the mistake itself, but about how it contradicted the rigid standards I had set for myself. Eventually, I was able to break through this barrier, but the process made me question many of my own beliefs and assumptions. Chapter 38: Excellent Long-Term Memory. Our 4-year-old has an exceptional memory, recalling vivid details from a 2-month vacation she took when she was just 18 months old. Such a feat is nearly unheard of, given that the memory of children that young is usually quite fluid. For many gifted individuals, however, exceptional memory is a hallmark. This ability to remember details with striking accuracy comes with its own set of advantages and drawbacks. While having an excellent memory can be incredibly useful, it doesn't necessarily correlate with maturity or moral development. For example, during my high school years, I encountered several classmates with outstanding recall abilities. These peers could effortlessly retain complex information without much effort, excelling in subjects like math, Latin, and ancient Greek. Despite their intellectual prowess, some still exhibited a lack of maturity, whether it was an immature sense of humor or engaging in less than wise habits like excessive partying or indulgence in inappropriate content. Their memory skills did not always translate into wise decision-making or responsible behavior. A strong memory can yield significant benefits in various aspects of life. For instance, 1. Enhanced relationships. Being able to remember and bring up details from past conversations can significantly improve interpersonal relationships. It demonstrates genuine interest and attentiveness, making others feel valued and understood. For example, remembering and discussing specific details about someone's interests or past experiences can foster deeper connections. 2. Business acumen. An excellent memory can be a tremendous asset in business settings. For example, mental math becomes second nature. Calculating 23 by 78 quickly, using techniques such as breaking it down into manageable parts, 78 by 20 equal 560, then adding 210 and 24 to get 1,770,94, becomes effortless. This skill is invaluable for tasks involving finance, risk assessment, and data analysis. However, it's important to note that intelligence or giftedness doesn't always align with a preference for all types of math. While I excelled at mental calculations, I found myself less inclined toward formula-based math, preferring to engage with language, culture, art, and history. Better organization. A strong memory contributes to effective organization. Keeping items in consistent locations makes them easier to find. Even when things do get misplaced, a good memory helps recall where they might be. For instance, if keys are missing, recalling where they were last seen or where similar items are usually stored can be incredibly helpful. 4. Reduce stress. Not forgetting important details and maintaining organization can minimize stress. Although I do experience stress from meeting high standards and navigating uncertainties, I tend to feel less frustrated about locating my belongings. My memory helps me keep track of where I've placed items. However, this ability doesn't extend to tracking other people's belongings, which can occasionally lead to frustration when asked to find things misplaced by others. 5. Accelerated learning. A strong memory facilitates faster learning. By drawing on existing knowledge, individuals can grasp new concepts more quickly and integrate them more effectively. In professions such as law, teaching, project management, journalism, medicine, or writing, excellent memory skills are crucial. These careers often require not only the retention of fundamental information, but also specialized knowledge that sets professionals apart in their respective fields. Chapter 39. Many gifted individuals lean toward introversion, driven by their aversion to pretense and their transparent emotional states. Unlike those who revel in social charisma and superficial interactions, gifted people often value genuine information and truth above appearances. This inclination makes them natural members of what might be termed the introvert club, a group that thrives in the quieter, more reflective corners of a noisy world. Gifted individuals often possess a deep and rapid thought process, which doesn't always fit well into the often superficial demands of social interactions. As a result, they may appear introverted. The benefits of introversion are significant, particularly for those who are gifted. Introverts typically display several key strengths. Creativity. Introverts often channel their energy into creative pursuits, leveraging their reflective nature to generate original ideas. Thoughtful action. They tend to deliberate extensively before acting, though this can sometimes lead to overthinking. Preparation. Rather than jumping into tasks impulsively, introverts prefer to plan and prepare thoroughly. Listening skills. They are usually excellent listeners, attuned to nuances and subtleties in conversations. Prioritization. Introverts, much like many gifted individuals, focus on what matters most, ensuring that their energy and efforts are directed towards significant goals. Intense focus. They can concentrate deeply on tasks, whereas extroverts might be more prone to distractions. Passion for reading and writing. Introverts often find joy in reading and writing, appreciating the depth and detail of these activities. If you find yourself identifying with these traits, especially if you are somewhat introverted, you might recognize several signs. Feeling alone in a crowd. Many gifted introverts experience a sense of isolation, even in social settings, due to differing thought processes and perspectives. Discomfort with networking. Networking can feel insincere, and introverts might struggle with the superficial nature of such interactions. Interest in deep thinking. A fascination with philosophy, history, and culture is common among introverts and gifted individuals alike. Perceptions of seriousness. Being labeled as too serious or intense is a common experience. Even young children, like my 4-year-old who preferred to be seen as serious and smart, can exhibit this trait. Overwhelmed from stimulation. Introverts might feel overwhelmed by excessive stimulation, whereas extroverts may become bored with too little. Attention to detail. Introverts often notice and focus on details, a trait that can be heightened in gifted individuals. Focus on the big picture. Introverts and gifted individuals alike often concentrate on long-term goals and overarching themes, taking time to analyze and understand things deeply, albeit sometimes at a slower pace. These traits highlight how introversion can complement and enhance the characteristics often associated with giftedness. Since there are some overlapping traits between introverts and gifted individuals, it's important to differentiate between the two. While many gifted people are introverts, not all introverts are gifted, and vice versa. Here are some distinctions to help you understand which description fits you better. Introverts often cherish downtime as a way to organize their thoughts. This is also true for some gifted individuals, but their need for downtime is different. Gifted people typically dislike sitting idle for too long. They see downtime as an opportunity to strategize and organize their goals rather than just a period of quiet reflection. Their thinking is fast-paced and goal-oriented, so downtime is used to progress toward their objectives, not merely to rest. Introverts usually prefer to avoid constant social interaction and often seek out solitary spaces. While everyone appreciates their own space, this tendency is not unique to gifted individuals. Gifted people may not be as concerned with finding solitude. Their focus is more on the quality of their interactions rather than the quantity. Introverts often experience fatigue from prolonged social interactions and need time to recharge. Gifted individuals, on the other hand, might disengage from social settings not because they are tired, but because they find the interactions unproductive or unsatisfying. For gifted people, the value of social exchanges is assessed based on the usefulness and depth of the conversation rather than the duration of their social engagement. Introverts frequently aim to master one particular area, often seeking expertise in a single domain. While this aligns with societal expectations, gifted individuals typically have a broader range of interests and talents. They may focus intensely on one area, but usually have a desire to excel in multiple fields, understanding that becoming an expert in everything is impractical due to time constraints. Gifted people are not inherently shy. They often engage confidently in discussions, backed by their strong reasoning skills and knowledge. They may come across as bold or even overly assertive, which can sometimes be perceived negatively by others. This confidence stems from their deep understanding and intellectual capabilities, not from arrogance. These nuances highlight that while introversion and giftedness can overlap, they are distinct traits. Many people mistakenly equate introversion with being shy or withdrawn and assume that giftedness is synonymous with being exceptionally smart. However, giftedness encompasses a broader spectrum of characteristics beyond mere intelligence. Additionally, societal perceptions can make it challenging for gifted individuals to openly acknowledge their talents without facing judgment or misunderstandings. If you identify as an introvert, exploring literature on the subject can provide valuable insights into your strengths and weaknesses, helping you understand and appreciate your unique personality traits. Chapter 40: Childlike Sense of Wonder. Many people eventually find themselves bored with life, feeling as though they've experienced it all. They long for something beyond their reach, whether it's a grand cruise vacation, celebrity status, or other unattainable dreams. For me, the concept of a childlike sense of wonder resonates deeply, but it's crucial to understand that this quality is not about being naive, easily impressed, or forgetful. In truth, I'm not easily swayed by superficial achievements. When someone boasts, "I made $50,000 in 1 month," my first reaction is to question their motives. Are they trying to sell me a get-rich-quick scheme, or simply indulging in self-promotion? When I hear that someone attended Harvard, I think, I could have done that too if I had chosen that path. To me, talk is cheap. I believe that most things others achieve, I could also achieve, given the right circumstances, though there are limitations related to physical traits or external conditions beyond my control. Thus, I am not easily impressed by efforts to display superiority. However, my sense of wonder is profoundly stirred by the possibilities of what can be accomplished. I marvel at human achievements in art, music, literature, science, and medicine, as well as the vastness of the universe and the intricate details of atoms. The complexity of time, the endless potential outcomes of decisions, and the vast unexplored aspects of existence fill me with awe. I am captivated by the idea of extending limits and reaching ever greater heights, even beyond this life. For me, retaining a childlike sense of wonder is essential to maintaining excitement and imagination about life. Abandoning this sense of wonder, simply because we grow older and understand more, feels like surrendering to a diminished view of life's possibilities. A vibrant imagination and an optimistic outlook on future possibilities are integral to the experience of being gifted. Finding joy in the extraordinary aspects of life and continually seeking out new wonders is, to me, a vital part of truly living. Chapter 41: Seeker for Ultimate Truths and Meaning of Life. Deep thinkers often grapple with the quest for ultimate purpose. They question the significance of everything, wondering if there is a fundamental reason behind it all, and if the outcomes can be measured in any meaningful way. For gifted individuals, the pursuit of ultimate truth is paramount, as they are inclined to look beyond the present moment. For instance, there were times in my life when I was intensely focused on accumulating wealth. Yet I would sometimes question the purpose of amassing money if it cannot be taken with us after death, and whether those with more wealth were necessarily happier, which is clearly not always the case. These questions often lead to further inquiries, reminding me of the financial struggles I faced and the anxiety they caused. Similarly, this pattern of seeking deeper meaning influenced my approach to personal discipline before marriage. I pondered whether those who engaged in regular sexual activity were inherently happier than those who abstained. This contemplation, shaped by the values I grew up with, helped me adhere to my religious principles and wait for my life partner before embarking on such intimate experiences. Exploring profound themes such as fame, fortune, pleasure, and status has helped me gain perspective during challenging times. Understanding concepts like the afterlife or examining societal and psychological patterns can provide valuable insights, refining one's goals and strategies. For example, I learned early on that pleasure and fun do not equate to true happiness, even though they have their place. By shifting my focus from competition to enjoying the process, I found greater freedom and satisfaction. Gifted individuals often find vague boundaries and unclear guidelines frustrating. They seek to understand why rules are set as they are and desire clarity on the underlying truths. When they grasp ultimate truths, life becomes more comprehensible and manageable. Confusion can lead to mistakes, and many intelligent people recognize the importance of clear knowledge. While knowledge grants power, wisdom, and elevated application of that knowledge leads to genuine happiness and fulfillment. Many people search for happiness in the wrong places, focusing on short-term gains or letting flawed emotions guide them. Chapter 42 enjoys challenges and accomplishments. Many gifted individuals thrive on challenges. While it's true that most people, including children, generally enjoy overcoming obstacles, some lose this drive over time. They may become content with their current situation, settling into routines or jobs and feeling secure. This sense of stability can sometimes stifle growth and learning. I share this perspective, but it's important to note that I am cautious about uncalculated risks. I avoid putting my money, time, or resources into ventures without thorough research and planning. For instance, when I proposed to my wife, I had meticulously analyzed her personality and our relationship, anticipating a positive outcome. Although I was confident she would accept, I recognized the inherent risks of potential separation or divorce. Thankfully, our marriage is happy and enduring, but I've also faced failures in business ventures. If given the chance, I would approach many situations differently. For gifted individuals, challenges are a significant driving force, with accomplishments serving as their ultimate goal. Unlike those who find pleasure in immediate fun, gifted people often seek deeper meaning through their achievements. The satisfaction of setting and reaching a challenging goal provides a profound sense of accomplishment. It's not merely about overcoming obstacles, but about pushing past limitations, achieving personal growth, and proving one's resilience. Each major success feels like a step towards taking more control over one's life, fostering self-confidence, security, hope, and a belief in one's abilities. It reaffirms that there is a future filled with possibilities and that not everything is subject to uncontrollable circumstances. Chapter 43, Sense of Destiny and/or Mission Meaning is crucial. We want our lives to have significance, to achieve something grand and dynamic. While many people may not constantly dwell on this, for gifted individuals, the pursuit of excellence, adventure, and impactful experiences is a central aspect of their lives. Having a sense of destiny can feel like being the hero or heroine of one's own story. This hero's journey is an innate desire within many of us, which is why action movies featuring heroic triumphs resonate so deeply. We all yearn for such victories, though some may only think about them occasionally. For gifted people, the need to conquer and achieve is more than a passing thought. It's a fundamental drive. They are deeply committed to their quests, often contemplating the sacrifices required to reach their ultimate goals. Chapter 44, Long Attention Span. We have two daughters, and it's intriguing to see their differing personalities. Our second daughter, while also smart, is more spontaneous and easily distracted. She's impulsive and fun-loving. In contrast, our first daughter is serious and highly focused. When she's upset, the best way to calm her is to engage her with questions about something she knows a lot about, like Paw Patrol. This redirection helps her concentrate on the details rather than her frustration. Our first daughter demonstrates remarkable focus. Unlike her sister, she doesn't act impulsively or clumsily. Even at a very young age, she spent over 30 minutes carefully fitting the lid onto a Gatorade bottle. She approaches tasks with deliberate attention, slowing down to assess her actions. In today's world, a long attention span is increasingly rare and highly valued. The constant barrage of notifications, social media updates, and rapid online content has made it difficult for many to maintain focus. People quickly click away from web pages, skip through YouTube videos, and demand instant gratification. It's becoming more frustrating to see how poor people's listening skills have become. I find myself doing it too, losing focus midway through someone's story. Recently, someone asked me a question, and within a few sentences, they were already engaged with someone else. Others look away, nod absently, or start texting while I'm speaking. This lack of attention span, and sometimes basic decency, often makes meaningful conversations difficult. Certain tasks require extended periods of focus to be done correctly, and this is where a long attention span proves advantageous. For gifted individuals, this ability to concentrate deeply can be a significant asset if harnessed effectively. Chapter 45: Cannot Stop Thinking. Some people talk about having a nothing box where their mind can truly rest and they aren't thinking about anything at all. Gifted individuals, however, don't have that luxury. Their minds are always at work, constantly processing and analyzing. While it's true that everyone thinks about something, gifted people take it a step further. They are continuously immersed in thoughts about achieving their goals, solving complex puzzles, and deepening their understanding of life. This relentless thinking can sometimes become overwhelming. Gifted individuals often find that their thoughts intertwine without clear boundaries. Many concepts and ideas are interconnected in their minds, and they strive to uncover these links while avoiding incorrect conclusions or misunderstandings. Their heightened self-awareness and propensity for self-questioning can also be taxing. They may doubt their own correctness despite apparent evidence supporting their views. This deep, ceaseless thought process is a hallmark of many scientists and philosophers whose inductive reasoning and logical conclusions stem from an unrelenting mental activity. Even my wife feels the strain of my constant thinking. When I struggle to fall asleep, she tells me to relax and stop thinking. But shutting off these thoughts isn't as simple as it sounds. My mind needs to resolve these thoughts before it can settle. To manage this, I sometimes vocalize my concerns or goals. Asking myself questions about my biggest fears, desired accomplishments, or confusing issues helps to address these thoughts. By seeking answers to what I can control and letting go of what I can't, I can help my mind find some peace. Chapter 46: Work Themselves to Exhaustion. If you were to meet me in person, you might think I'm a relentless workaholic. But my drive isn't about an addiction to work, it's about achieving my goals. I'm not working to avoid family life or shirk other responsibilities. In fact, if I had my way, I'd be retired in my 30s, indulging in leisure activities. Gifted individuals often have an intense drive that propels them to accomplish more, learn more, and extract more from life. Their broad range of interests fuels their curiosity, pushing them to continually improve and make progress. This can lead to both moments of frustration and fulfillment. But not everyone shares this trait. Many people prioritize enjoyment over achievements, or money over integrity. There are those who thrive on routine and would struggle with self-employment. The reality is, a lot of people lack the self-motivation to keep pushing when others have called it a day. I've lost count of how many times I've worked through the night or asked my wife to drive so I could work on my laptop in the passenger seat. While others are sleeping, a gifted person might still be focused on their goals, with their mind constantly churning out new ideas and strategies for improvement. A recent compliment on my focus reminded me of how challenging it can be to switch off. It's a quality that can be both a strength and a struggle in maintaining life balance. Finding equilibrium and setting appropriate boundaries is crucial, though it isn't always easy for me. My intense work ethic often means that when I encounter setbacks beyond my control, The frustration drives me to work even harder, striving to avoid that emotional pain. This relentless pursuit has helped me achieve significant revenue milestones, but I hope to find a balance that doesn't come at such a high personal cost. Chapter 47: Questions, Rules and Authority. Gifted individuals often challenge rules and authority, sometimes asking uncomfortable questions or addressing the obvious, even when it's socially awkward. I recall instances when visiting my wife's hometown where I would say things that made her laugh, but also prompted her to remind me, "Sst, people don't like to talk about that." Although I picked up on these social cues, my tendency to question and challenge remained, not out of defiance, but from a genuine curiosity and desire to understand. For parents of gifted children, this questioning nature can require extra effort to manage. Young gifted children may need more thorough explanations for rules and boundaries, and even the best explanations might fall short with very young children. A 4-year-old's logic often demands exceptionally compelling reasons before they accept not getting their way. Gifted individuals often don't conform easily. They may respect authority if it appears logical or if they recognize the merit behind the position rather than out of blind obedience. They tend to respect those in authority who have earned their position through significant effort or achievement, rather than simply accepting authority for its own sake. The idea of revering another person who is ultimately just as fallible and mortal as themselves holds little appeal unless that person has significantly elevated their perspective or offered meaningful guidance. Chapter 48: Extraordinary Self-Discipline. Gifted individuals often exhibit remarkable self-discipline. Their ability to focus on long-term goals allows them to endure extended periods of effort, knowing that their perseverance will ultimately lead to the desired rewards. This self-discipline manifests in various areas such as sports, academics, and work. Here are some personal examples that illustrate this trait. I spent nearly a year practicing to make 75 out of 100 three-point shots in basketball. I dribbled a basketball approximately 1,500 times in various ways without losing control. I dedicated myself to intense study sessions in the library during my final year of high school, despite struggling with math grades, to master problem-solving patterns. Faced with the possibility of not passing a college course, I worked tirelessly on my final project to prove my capability and avoid extending my college years. I set a goal to write enough books to support myself through publishing, aiming for a steady income. I learned a new language and saved money to volunteer for 6 months in a less affluent country. I drew thousands of characters to create look-and-find children's books similar to Where's Waldo? I contacted thousands of libraries to sell those books. I drew over 100 portraits in a single day to quickly earn money for rent. I knocked on countless doors to promote and sell my products. These examples are not meant to boast, but to highlight the level of self-discipline required for such achievements, whether it involves enduring long waiting periods or engaging in intense short-term efforts. The process demands a high degree of commitment and hard work. I take pride not only in the results, but also in the dedication and perseverance I demonstrated to achieve these goals, despite the challenges and frustrations along the way. Some words of advice. The internet often categorizes gifted individuals into subgroups based on IQ scores. Mildly gifted, 115 to 129, moderately gifted, 144, highly gifted, 145 to 159, exceptionally gifted, 160 to 79, and profoundly gifted, 180. However, I hope you understand that giftedness extends beyond mere IQ testing. For instance, my own scores varied, 115 the first time and 130 the second, taken just for fun. IQ test results can fluctuate. Familiarity with test questions or a better grasp of test-taking strategies can influence outcomes. Many questions test skills that can be honed, such as mental math or vocabulary. Furthermore, IQ tests often fail to capture the full scope of a gifted mind. Every test is different, and some may reflect your abilities more accurately than others. As discussed throughout this book, being gifted encompasses more than just high IQ. It involves attributes like self-motivation, focus, acute perception, rapid thinking, excessive analysis, a strong sense of justice, high personal and external expectations, a drive for goal setting, deep self-awareness, and specific interests. Some of these traits overlap with those of introverts or highly driven individuals, but the unique blend of these characteristics, combined with superior intelligence, places you on the gifted spectrum. What truly matters is how you use your gifts. Reflect on how these insights influence your self-perception, career, and relationships. Consider how you can address your weaknesses and cultivate talents you may have underestimated. Here are some key pieces of advice for gifted individuals. Firstly, confirm and understand your giftedness. While IQ tests can provide some indication, they are not definitive. Self-assess by recognizing traits associated with giftedness and develop emotional intelligence alongside cognitive abilities. Secondly, embrace and harness your talents. Identify your passions and consider how they can be used to create a meaningful impact, whether through making a living, helping others, inspiring people, or pursuing noble goals. Appreciate your attributes without boasting and feel good about your intelligence and drive. Lastly, apply your intelligence responsibly. Talents can be used for positive or negative ends. Consider how you can use your abilities to benefit others and contribute positively to society, rather than solely seeking personal gain or power. Fourth, find your niche. Don't settle for jobs that don't fit your skills or aspirations. While I took on various roles during college, such as working as a garbage collector, where I felt out of place, keep your sights set on higher goals and more suitable career paths. Surround yourself with people who speak your language and share your terminology, whether in consulting, finance, science, law, or academia. If the gap between your intellect and those around you becomes too wide, it can be frustrating. Even if your job isn't ideal, seek out friends and family with similar thinking patterns or engage in clubs and groups related to your interests, such as book clubs, chess, gaming, philosophy, psychology, or political debates. Find ways to leverage your knowledge, such as writing books, creating educational content, or presenting information in an engaging way. Fifth, trust your own judgment. I've often relied on others' advice or calculations, only to find myself on the wrong path. Reflecting back, I realize I sometimes had a gut feeling that I should have followed a different route, but lacking experience, I ignored it. Be cautious about whom you follow. Some people might deceive you intentionally, while others may mean well but lack insight. Your gifted mind can evaluate numerous factors, so it's often safer to rely on your own analysis rather than on charismatic figures who present themselves as experts. This approach may lead to some solitude, as it's natural to want to offload responsibilities and trust others blindly. However, using your knowledge and research to make informed decisions, even when it involves taking risks, is part of the challenge and opportunity of being gifted. Sixth, manage your frustrations with the right perspective. Don't burden yourself with things beyond your control or be overly critical of yourself. Aim to do your best, as that is often what you'll take pride in. If you feel frustrated, remember that not everyone will understand your situation. It's normal to occasionally drive loved ones to frustration or to lose control of your behavior under stress. Sometimes it's beneficial to distance yourself strategically and adjust your behavior to fit social expectations rather than exposing your inner turmoil. Your honesty and openness are valuable, but occasionally you may need to handle some challenges privately. Reflect on past successes to bolster your confidence and remind yourself of your capabilities. Seventh, embrace your diverse talents. Society often criticizes those who are perceived as dabblers or jacks of all trades. But being gifted means you might excel in multiple areas, even those that seem unrelated. As long as you monitor your progress, enjoyment, and the value of your goals, it's acceptable to shift focus from one interest to another. Being multi-talented is a strength, not a weakness. 8. Consider bypassing traditional schooling if you're self-motivated. College tuition has soared, and if you want my take on its impact, check out opinions online about college is a scam or similar critiques. The cost is staggering. Moreover, many colleges require you to study at home topics that you could have learned independently. A significant amount of time can be wasted in academia. While I can't claim that all my college experiences were unproductive, many people have found better alternatives and dropped out. If you have a curious mind and are diligent, online resources, whether free or through paid books and courses, can take you far. Even in fields that traditionally required degrees, self-taught individuals are often hired over those with conventional qualifications. A diploma isn't always a testament to work ethic, knowledge, or job performance. Before the internet era, information was mainly accessible through college classes and costly textbooks, but now almost everything can be found online. Ninth, don't be swayed by excessive calls for balance. Gifted individuals often delve deeply into their interests, sometimes neglecting other areas of life like cleaning, family time, or leisure activities. Embrace your intensity, focus, and seriousness. Don't let others criticize your so-called workaholic or out-of-balance lifestyle. Your productivity is a strength. Sometimes criticism comes from jealousy or concern for your well-being, but you're capable of setting your own boundaries. You understand your limits and know when to stop. 10th, accept that you will be wrong at times. Even with high intelligence, you're not infallible. If you're truly smart, you'll recognize the vast amount you don't know and understand that there's always more to learn. Others will surpass you in various areas, and you'll make mistakes that will make you question your judgment. This is all part of the journey toward growth and improvement. 11th, seek a partner who appreciates you for who you are and doesn't expect you to shut off your intellect after work. While interacting with family and participating in everyday activities is important, you need someone who values your giftedness and engages in intelligent discussions with you. You want a relationship where your intellectual and emotional needs are met. I hope this book has been insightful. Discovering these traits helped me understand why I'm so driven and ambitious, why I process information quickly, and why I sometimes struggle with connections. It clarified why I excelled in certain areas and why my language and artistic skills developed rapidly. It also explained some of the dissatisfaction and frustration I've experienced with life's injustices. Recognizing these aspects of yourself can be comforting, knowing you're not alone and that your unique qualities might be paired with a degree of superior intelligence. This awareness can open doors to significant improvements in your life if you find the right path. For those in relationships with gifted individuals, I hope this has provided insights to better empathize and connect with them on a deeper level, which is often what they seek.